Hello. If you're seeing this, this would be your horoscope for all 12 rising signs for the week of April 14th through April 20th. As always, timestamps will be in the description box below. I'll say it again, timestamps will be in the description box below. No one that needs to hear that will ever hear it. We're only 20 seconds into the video and I can already feel someone being like, how do I find my... Anyways, if you would like a personal reading from me, you can contact me via Etsy and or email, link down below as well. And yeah, see you at your horoscope. Anyways, y'all. So right off the bat, I have two things to mention that's more lighthearted before I kind of like start like rambling. So the first thing is I'm just really sick right now. I don't know what happened. This week started out, I feel like it's allergies and then it kind of like turned into something else, because at the beginning of the week my throat was hurting really bad. I don't know what it was. I thought it was because I was snoring one night, which I thought was funny because I usually don't snore. And then my throat got better, and then suddenly I have like I have a cough today. It wasn't as bad as these past 2 days, but like today it's just suddenly there. And my nose started running, my head was hurting a little bit, but it's not insufferable, you know? It's not, oh my gosh, I'm literally out of commission, I cannot make it in this society right now. But, you know, it kind of hurts it a little bit. It's kind of irritating. But it's not as bad. It was, I think the second day is always the worst day, but today I'm just kind of like, and I'm gonna try my best not to like sniffle too much. Anyways, the next thing is this. I love this. My friend so put me on this, but this is Ollie Hendrickson Pout Preserve Peptide Lip Treatment. I love this thing. It's like a lip gloss and a lip balm at the same time. And I feel like that's kind of like it's like whatever, but like I like it because it's very convenient, you know, especially if you're someone who's on the go, or someone who, if you're really not that into collecting lip products, or if you're not into the vanity aspect of it. I just feel like this is really convenient. I don't know about you guys, but I love that it's like this, because I love the experience of using a wand, you know, like a lip gloss. I think it's very fun. I think it's a vibe. I just feel like sometimes it's a little bit impractical and sometimes a little bit in the way. You know, especially for the kind of, you know, like, I feel like girls, you're like always holding like 5 billion things with your two hands because you have no pockets. You'll be holding your lip gloss, a phone charger, your phone, your wallet, something somebody told you to hold for them. I don't know, like a $10 bill. I don't know, like it's interesting. You know, it's so funny because I walked out of the car one day and, you know, I don't know why I did this, but I was holding like my lip gloss, the highlighter compact, and my wallet, my phone, and I looked at my friend. I was like, girl, I feel like I'm a girl right now. Like, and then she was like, yep, that's our experience. But, you know, I just feel like this is very convenient because I feel like it saves on products that you have to carry. I wanted to try Rhode. I wanted to try their peptide lip treatment or whatever, but I feel like there's like a lot of controversy right now surrounding it. I'm like, And the only way you can get a hold of it, I believe, is through buying it directly off the website. And I don't know why, I just like don't want to do that. If it's not in the store, I'm not buying it. That's how I feel. I want to go to the store and buy it. But yeah, I want to buy a few more things from Sephora that I need. I need to get another one of these. I'm running out, and I low-key want to try it. I might get this one and another one like of this, just to like try one of the shimmery ones, because I really love this one. And it's such like a go-to because it's pink, and I feel like pink looks very flattering on my lips. I feel like other colors just kind of like, it depends on the lighting. But yeah, I wanted to try a shimmery like limited edition one, whatever. But I don't know, I'm probably not gonna do it because I just feel like I already have way too many lip products. I have like, what, how many? I have like 6. That's a lot to me. But yeah, anyways, so one thing that I really wanted to speak to you guys about is that sounds so like accusatory, that sounds so like we have to talk, you know, like it's not like that. But I have this deck, and I got this from my friend's aunt. She gave it to me. She was like, oh, I don't use these cards anymore, do you want them? And I was like, free stuff, period. Yeah. And I have to say, I'll probably pull you a card just for like this video, just for us. But I really love this deck because it's basically just like, it's called The Power of Intention, by the way, by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, whatever. And I pulled a card for myself last night, and usually I don't really pull myself cards. I do it like here and there, you know, it's not something that I frequently do. Just because I'm delusional, and a deck of I will make sure that the cards feed my delusion. That's the truth. But it was like, oh, turn hate into love. And I really thought about that a lot because I feel like lately I have been doing that, where I'll be hanging on to negative emotions for like a really long time. And I feel like it manifests as me attracting more negative emotions. But I kind of feel like that's been this whole Mars and Cancer transit for me, where like it's kind of exposed that I am like deep down like low-key a pessimist. And I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm an optimistic person, but I'm also like very pessimistic. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Anyways, I feel like it's just something I've been thinking about a lot. I used to get like bullied a lot by my brother because when I was growing up, he'd say like, why are you so negative? And I'm like, what can I say, y'all? Like, I just can't help it. So I feel like I am a pretty positive person nowadays. I feel like positivity is all I got. Sometimes like I'm like, girl, but yeah, that's just something I've been wanting to do, where I was like, yeah, you know, like I feel like I've just been hanging on to a lot of negative emotions, but I feel like that's all I have to say about that. I feel like it's just like, yeah, like I really need to let go of negative emotions. But one thing that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about too was the mornings. It's about 9 o'clock right now. We're probably gonna head out in like an hour or two, so I'm kind of on a time crunch with this video, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get it up. Like, that's not what I'm worried about. It's Friday, but it's just whenever I think of mornings, there's an air of nostalgia. Like, these past few mornings have felt really nostalgic for me, and I can't quite put my finger on it. And lately I've just been ruminating a lot about my childhood, because when I was a little kid, I was honestly pretty lonely, and I feel like that's kind of why I feel so comfortable sharing stuff with you guys on, you know, the internet. Because, you know, when I was little, I turned to the internet to, you know, vent, to make friends, because I wasn't allowed to leave the house, no one was home, and I had no means of leaving anyways. And even if I did, it was just like in my local neighborhood. And so what I would do was I would get on websites, you know, I'd get on like Animal Jam, I'd get on YouTube, I'd get on, you know, like, not chat rooms. Chat rooms are kind of scary. Y'all remember Omegle? I was on that too. But, you know, I would use the internet to connect with people, because I was a really lonely kid, to be honest. And I know it's gonna sound like very like, oh my gosh, that's so like sad, you know. But, you know, like that's just what happened. And because of that, I feel like I just always felt very comfortable sharing online. Sometimes even more so than interacting with real people, because I feel like in real life, I can sometimes get very uncomfortable, because and not in a sense that like I don't feel comfortable sharing. It's just like when I'm with people in person, I feel like a clock ticking, you know, like I feel the clock ticking. I feel like they want to leave. I don't feel like they want to talk to me. And so because of that, I just get like very agitated and very stressed out, and I just like don't want to talk, because I'm like, I don't want to waste our time. Excuse me. And I don't know. I feel like my moon squares my Neptune, and I also have a Scorpio stellium in the 12th house. I'm sure a lot of you know that, but you know, my moon doesn't make any aspects but that square Neptune. And I feel like it's so manifest because as a kid, I got lost all the time. My parents would forget me places. I remember one time when I was a little kid, I don't remember how old I was, but I went to church with my mom, and I hated church, you guys. I hated church. I hated it. And that's not to say I didn't like Jesus or nothing like that. Like, that's not what this is about. Like, Jesus is a pretty cool dude, you know? You know, I feel like he would really like me, and I feel like I'd really like him. You know, like, he seems like a really nice guy. My point is that, you know, I didn't like going to church because of the people there, and I'm sure we can all agree that not everyone at church is the best person, but that's a story for another day, y'all. And I remember, yeah, I went to church with my mom, and literally we went to the sanctuary, and I woke up, you guys, I went to sleep in the middle of church, and I woke up to this empty sanctuary. My mom was not there. Like the whole thing, gang. The whole place was empty. There wasn't a janitor or nothing. And I woke up and I was like, what is going on? And I like ran out and I went to the fellowship hall. Everyone's just having lunch, you know, and they're just eating, they're grubbing. And I walk up to these people, I'm like, where's my mom? And then they're like, oh, she left. And I was like, what? Like, she just left me there, you guys. She went to the store to, you know, get to work. And I was like, you know, and I just had like a lot of experiences like that as a kid where my parents would just like forget me places, or they would like leave me, you know, they like leave me at home, forget me in stores. And because of that, like, I feel like as a young kid, like, I just like you could say abandonment issues. I definitely have those. I feel like a lot of us have them. But, you know, because of that, I just kind of got left. I got very used to like being alone as a kid, or like I feel like it's kind of bad because I'll like abandon other people too, because it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's really bad. And I just like, they would forget me at school. Like, I remember this one time, this was like a pretty interesting memory, but I remember one time my parents were really late to pick me up from school. School ended at like 2 o'clock. This is in like, I forgot what grade this was, but it was like first through fifth grade, one of those. I think it was like it might have been third grade because I was really young. It was like third grade below. And school ended at 2, and I remember it was like 3 or 4. And like, you know, my parents still hadn't shown up, and I remember the assistant principal came up to me and he was like, oh my gosh. And he like sat down with me and he let me play skee ball on his phone. And I don't know why, but I just thought that was like a really sweet memory. I remember I drew like a bunch of pictures and they were like all hyping me up. They were like, oh my god, he an artist or whatever. And I was like, stop. But, you know, like, those just kind of like my thing, you know. And then like middle school onwards, I started riding the bus. And I think it's funny because now that I'm grown up, I would talk to my mom sometimes, and she would always be like, yeah, like, I kind of regret always working or always choosing work instead of just being more present in your life. And I feel like we both kind of accept what's happened, because I feel like even though my mom just kind of gets like not frustrated, but like she wishes that I would do something different with my life, I feel like she kind of like accepts that, like, I can just do what I want now. And maybe she does it to compensate for the lack of a life that she was able to provide me growing up. And I'm not saying I don't like my life, you know, like, I'm grateful for all my experiences, and even though some of them really hurt me, I feel like I took them well, and I feel like I've made, you know, them make me a better person. And I really appreciate that, and I still owe it to the people I've met throughout my life that helped me develop a better mindset. Even my brother, even though all he did was bully me, but there is some credence to what he'd say. He's a Virgo, y'all. He irritates me, but he has a point sometimes, okay? But yeah, I don't know. I remember I saw this comment the other week, and it was like, I think you should listen to your parents and you should like do, you know, and it's like, I listened to my parents my whole life. I did everything that they ever wanted me to do, and they were never present for the accomplishments and or the failures. And there's only so much I feel like dedicating to them with this life. And I don't know, like, that's just like a very long-winded story, but like, I feel like people think that like my parents have, you know, like, you know, I don't know, like it's not in me. I just don't have it in me. And it's not in the sense that like like I feel it just like how I feel like a regular person wants me to do something, you know, like if my friend is like, this is such a weird analogy, but if I pull through the drive-thru with my friend and they're complaining about being broke, what I feel like they want me to do is I feel like they want me to pay for their meal. That's what I'm getting. And that's how I feel about my parents, where they're like, oh, you know, like school's pretty great. And like I'm like, I feel like you really want me to go to school, but I'm not going to, you know? And I don't know, it's just like, I know that's like a very intricate story, and that would require me to like sit down one-on-one with each and every one of you to kind of explain my case. But you know, like I think that if you understand, you understand. If you don't, you don't. But yeah, and I love my parents, and I'm very grateful for, you know, like the privileged life and the experiences they've given me. I just feel like there's just times where I wish that things could be different, and I'm sure they do too. And even if things were different, I feel like there would still be issues, or I feel like there would still be, you know, bad experiences. So that's why I'm just kind of like, oh, you know, like this is just the hand we've been dealt. We will make do, make lemonade, if you know what I mean. Sorry, I had to cough. But yeah, and I just feel like I've been ruminating a lot about that through this period of time, because mornings were usually like a make or break of my day, because when I would wake up, I would like pray to God, y'all, that my parents were still home so that I could like say bye to them, or like at least spend a little bit of time with them. Oh my gosh, you guys, I remember I used to like wake up in a frenzy, and I would like run to the window, run to the garage door, and I would like make sure the car is still there. And oh my gosh, when the car wasn't there, the amount of like grief and the amount of anger I would feel was so crazy. Oh my gosh. I remember I would like slam the door. I would get so mad, and I would just be like so frustrated. I'd like stomp back up to my room. I'm like, damn it, now I gotta wait until like 8 o'clock at night to see my parents. And yeah, like it kind of like manifested weird, because like throughout like high school, I started like not seeing my parents. Like I would like anyways. But yeah, I don't really know what the point of that was, but I just feel like lately I've been having like a lot of experiences that kind of like point to like my attachment style and how I connect with people, and because of that, I just feel like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna pull you guys an intention card, and then we can get on with the reading. But yeah, they're like these cards, and it has like an intention, and then it has like a little text at the back. So let's see what it says for you guys. And we'll just pull one from the middle. Respect yourself. Make an internal commitment to respect yourself and feel worthy of all that the universe has to offer. If you disrespect anyone or anything that God creates, you disrespect that creative force and tarnish your connection to the power of intention. Ooh. Not you calling me out, calling us out. Did you guys resonate with that? Anyways. But yeah. That's all I have. Thank you guys so much for listening to the intro. I really appreciate the people who really like the intro, and thank you to everyone else who watches. And I don't know, I just feel like you guys are like my family, you know, like I don't know. Okay, that's all. See you at your horoscope. I love you. All right, starting out with Sagittarius rising. So hello, Sagittarius rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Sorry, my brain went blank. Anyways, so Sagittarius, I definitely feel like you have a really important week ahead of you, because we will see the moon move through your sign in the beginning or the middle of the week. And I definitely feel like the beginning of the week is a little bit more important than the second chunk of the week, because we see the moon form a lot more aspects. But overall, I just feel like, because the moon will start out in Scorpio this week, and we just had a full moon in your 11th house. Totally forgot to mention that last week's horoscope. So I feel like there has been a lot of reveal and a lot of realizations, and maybe even like epiphanies within your relationship to social media, your social circles, but especially as it relates to your home, your past, and your family. Because Venus is the ruler of Libra and Venus is in your fourth house, which Venus has also stationed direct by this point in your fourth house. So I definitely feel like because when the moon moves through your sign in the middle of the week, and even Scorpio, it will form a trine to Venus, Saturn, and I feel like as this happens, there's seemingly a sense of coming to terms with something, and the moon will form a trine to Mars in Cancer. So we have like a low-key grand water trine forming here, and this is right before Mars moves into Leo on like the 18th. So rejoice, Sagittarius. Mars is finally getting out of your 8th house, and it will trine your ascendant. So I definitely get the vibe that there is something going on this week with like your home front again, and something about your routines at home, and something about your sleep schedule as well. I think at the beginning of the week, you'll probably be feeling a little bit kind of like emotional. I think that because your water ruled houses will be activated one more time in like a grand water trine. I feel like there is something going on in the beginning of the week, and it isn't really something I can explain because I feel like the best way I can say it is like it's a personalized experience for each Sagittarius rising. But what I can comfortably say as like an umbrella for everyone is that I definitely feel like it will be emotional, and you'll be noticing repressed feelings coming out because Mars is at that critical degree in your 8th house. So it's about emotionally relating to people or deeply connecting with your home, feeling more at home. What can you do to allow yourself to feel a little bit more comfortable? Is it about decorating your room? Is it about making your room a more beautiful place? Is it replacing your mattress? Is it developing steadier routines with, a woman that you live with? Is this something about roommates? Is this something about your own heritage with your family? It's kind of, there's no one size fits all. It's just about your past, your upbringing, your childhood, and how that all seems to inspire the way that you are now as a little bit older as it relates to your home and your life. For others of you, if it's not more emotional, this could also be that routines and things that you've been doing at home may have been taking a little bit of toll on you. So I feel like it's pretty important this week that you make more time for fun or make time for things that fill up your cup. I also think that some of you could be going back and forth with a woman, and it could be related to something about like a mother. Maybe it's your relationship with motherhood, but this could also be about your routine because Venus has ties with your 6th house and Saturn has ties with your 2nd house, and then the moon will be trining these two planets. So definitely something about your routines at home, but also your self-worth. Others of you could just literally be going back and forth about something with like the financing of a home or like investing in property, which by the way, if you're wanting to invest in a property or home renovation, this is not a bad week to do that. I feel like because we'll see Venus and Mercury finally direct, which by the way, Mercury will move into your 5th house on like the 16th. I love to see this energy. I definitely feel like a lot of you will have a little bit more of a lighthearted week, and you'll notice that your relationships start to kind of like pick up, especially, like casual ones, or if you're just trying to meet people or have more fun. I feel like this could be like the beginning of people asking you out. People be like, hey, do you want to go here with me? Hey, do you want to do that with me? Hey, do you want to, go out with me? Stuff like that. I feel like definitely something of that could be going on. Be wary, Mercury will come into a conjunction with Neptune, so I could see this as like you meet someone, like off an app or something, and like 15 minutes later, you're like, this is my soulmate, I'm so in love, this is all I could ever want in a person. So be wary of the desires that you have that you were projecting onto other people, because this could lead to some brutal reality checks. The nice thing is though, when the moon moves into Sagittarius in the middle of the week, it will form a nice trine to these planets in your 5th house. So I feel very confident saying that the middle of the week will be really, really fun for Sag risings. Of course, the moon will square Venus and Saturn in your 4th house. So I kind of see this as like, oh, before I go out, let me just make sure the house is in order, or oh, before I go out, or oh, before I have fun with my friends and stuff, before I get into relationships, I really need to sort some stuff that's going on at home. So it's really about finding that balance between enjoying yourself, having fun, doing the things that you want to do, Sagittarius, versus the responsibilities and burdens that you have at home, whether it be that like it's just like, oh, before I leave the house, let me make sure that I clean it up before I leave. But for others of you, this could be, you know, something about, you know, having to take care of people at your home. You know, maybe some of you feel obligated towards your home in some kind of way. Maybe it deals with a woman, maybe it deals with like your grandmother, maybe you're just like taking care of her or something, or maybe there's something going on with your father. You know, Saturn is the father, maybe there's some kind of responsibility at home. I feel like it doesn't really matter what the responsibility is. I think that's very safe to say that all Sagittarius risings right now still have like a thorn in their side, where they're having to kind of like still feel very obligated towards their household in some way, whether it be the financing of it, whether it be the people that you live with and you're having to take care of someone, whether it be that someone's restricting you at home and forcing you to stay home, or, you know, it's just like I've been noticing a lot of Sag risings are kind of going back and forth about their home life. And it's like you want something in your personal life, but it kind of seems like there is something in the way of that. And I feel like this is going to be something that's kind of tweaked throughout this week. And I think that, you know, you'll be making more time to enjoy yourself. So Sagittarius, I think that you'll see this, especially throughout next month when Saturn moves into your 5th house. But I feel like this week will be kind of like we're seeing kind of like a foundation be laid out, because all these planets are going to start moving through your 5th house. You know, making time for fun, making time to enjoy yourself, especially if you've been like, oh, work, no play. Balance will be found. And then the moon will move through Capricorn at the end of the week. And by the way, the moon will oppose your chart ruler, Jupiter, and it will form a very, very, very light T-square. So it seems to be something about your interpersonal relationships and your attachment. So be wary of what you're projecting onto other people, and it kind of seems like what you seek in others or what you are feeling because of others seems to be like a deep childhood repressed feeling, as opposed to like, you know, like the person in front of you. So take that for what it is, especially if you are meeting people on a whim, or if relationships are seemingly coming out of nowhere. Take into consideration that this week, it's just like how you feel about others could be a major clue as to how you're feeling about yourself and what you desire versus what you don't like. And at the end of the week, the moon will move through Capricorn. This is a pretty interesting energy. The moon will square planets in your 5th house, and there's really not much to say about it. I just kind of feel like it's about your self-worth, feeling good enough. But for others of you, you know, like a lot of y'all could be spending, you know, I see this as like a shopping spree. I totally wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this week, y'all are, you know, going out, shopping, buying things. But I also feel like this could be something about your children. Maybe there's something about your values. Maybe there's something about your self-esteem when it comes to dating, when it comes to your own kids. Maybe you're, you know, rearranging something about your finances with your children. But yeah, Sagittarius, I feel like the best way that I can sum up this week for you is making time for your responsibilities, but making just as much time for the things that fill up your cup and bring you joy, and making more time to just have fun and fill up your own cup doing the things that you want to do, but also taking pride in yourself and taking pride in your identity, who you are and what you believe in, and not letting your relationships or other people kind of like stray you away from what you mean to yourself and what your identity is. So confidence is the key, and confidence will be achieved by knowing yourself. If you know yourself, then, you know, there's really no excuse me, there's no need to explain yourself. You know, it's like if your best friend, like if you love your best friend and then someone's like talking smack about them, you'd be like, nah, I know that they would not do something like that. They're like this, you know, like they're my best friend, I know them. That's like what you should do for yourself, Sagittarius. You know, like you know yourself, and therefore you should not allow external opinions, feelings, or circumstances, or how others treat you to be a reflection of how you see yourself and what your relationship with yourself is. Anyways, we're gonna pull you a tarot card and send you off. Today you can see the cards, yay. This card really stuck out to me. For you, we have the Page of Swords. This is a very gossipy card. I would definitely say be wary of gossip this week and be wary of communication, especially when the moon opposes, you know, Jupiter in your 7th house, and then the ruler Gemini is, or excuse me, the ruler Gemini / Mercury is in your 5th house conjunct Neptune. So be wary of confusing communication, but I also feel like this is definitely the week where you should speak your mind more, say what you're thinking, say what you mean, and mean what you say. But I definitely feel like others of you could be receiving news this week. Some of you could be receiving random communication from people. Who it might be, we don't know. It could be someone from your past with planets moving through your fourth and your fifth house. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a past fling or a past romantic partner, or, you know, someone that you have known like for a very long time, or somebody that you knew for a very fleeting time. So whatever it might be, this is definitely someone that you're not really expecting, and it seems to be based on something about time. So it's like, wow, I haven't heard from you a really long time. I would have never guessed that it was you that would hit me up. Or, oh wow, we only interacted for like a few days. I would have never guessed that you would reach out to me, you know? So it's like something about their relationship with time and like the longevity. It definitely seems like you're receiving some kind of unexpected news from another person, and it's not really news, but like unexpected communication, like, hey, you know, it's been a while, you know. But for others of you, you could be the Page of Swords, where you're reaching out to others, and it, like I said, doesn't even have to be that. Like, I just feel like a lot of you are receiving random communication from people this week. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Aries rising. So hello, Aries rising. If you're seeing this, this would be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. I won't even lie, Aries, I really, really like this week for you, because we will finally see your chart ruler around the 18th move into Leo. That's not to say that this week will be a cakewalk for you or anything, you know, that's not how it works. I don't feel like this week will just be like, you know, like all fun and games, but I do feel like because your chart ruler is finally moving into a fellow fire sign and trining your ascendant as opposed to squaring your ascendant, burdens relating to the home, your family, the past, and your roots, and maybe even like issues with your identity and your heritage, things like that will sort of be alleviating. And I feel like this energy will exemplify a word. It will kind of accentuate that energy, and it will sort of dramatize right before it moves into Leo, because at the beginning of the week we will see the moon, you know, move through Scorpio, and it will trine, you know, Mars right before it moves into Leo, and it's at that critical 29 degrees. And we also just had a full moon in Libra in your 7th house, and we see the ruler Venus in your 12th house still going direct at the beginning of this week too. Literally the day that you're seeing this, that this video is being uploaded, we will see Venus go direct. So it definitely seemed like this is a week of sudden forward movement, especially with your relationships, especially as it relates to like personal relationships with people you live with your family. For others of you, I also feel like this could be something about like legal matters. So if you've been going back and forth with like taxes or like insurance or property matters, you know, if you've been going back and forth with people about like signatures, documents relating to home, like are you trying to sign a lease? Are you trying to sign documents to, you know, a new apartment? Are you trying to sort out something that happened to your home? You know, I think Mars in the 4th house can cause a little bit of drama, and you know, with Neptune moving into your 1st house, like just like water, and you know, like maybe, oh my gosh, like the bathroom sink exploded, you know, I have to, you know, call someone about that. Or maybe you had like a really bad storm and it like messed up the shingles on your roof, so you're having to like go back and forth with like insurance to get funding to renovate your home or clean up your home in some kind of way. But for others of you, this could definitely be a more emotional take, where you are feeling a little bit sensitive and a little bit receptive to things going on in your family and your past. And so because of that, I definitely feel like the beginning of the week could feel a little bit uncomfortable for Aries risings, and it's a familiar discomfort, but it kind of seems like it's something that is being, excuse me, I had to cough, something that is being kind of wrapped up, if you know what I mean. And then we will see the moon move through Sagittarius in the middle of the week, which I really like for you, because it will trine planets in your 1st house. We see Mercury move into your sign as well, like around the 16th, and it will come into a conjunction with Neptune. Pretty peculiar energy, if you ask me. Mercury rules your 6th house as well as your 3rd house. So middle of the week, I would imagine there's some kind of like confusion of like communication, especially with like work, scheduling, and also things of like pets and routine. I would definitely look out for this energy. I can see this as like a dog or a cat running out the door whenever, you know, like you just like open it to invite someone in and then you're kind of having to look for them. This could be something about a car, you know, confusion around a car. Maybe you're like something about like scheduling, you know, like you thought your coworker said like, "Oh, can you come in?" Or like your manager said, "Hey, can you come in at 3 p.m.?" And you're like, "I swore you said 3 p.m." And then you come in at 3 p.m. They're like, I actually asked you to come in at 12." Or maybe you get called into work early, or maybe you know, like something about your shift. Maybe some of you are going back and forth of like interviews. Others of you, Neptune, since it has ties with your 12th house, maybe this is something about, you know, like deeper emotions. So maybe you're going to go see like a hypnotherapist or like a therapist, or, you know, maybe, you know, like Neptune is water. So maybe you're going to go to like a spa, or maybe you're trying to hit up someone with like hydrotherapy, or maybe you're like trying to like acupuncture. I could totally see that. Or maybe Aries is about, you know, like working out. So maybe you're trying to get like a personal trainer. I've even heard some people say that this could be swimming. So I almost wonder if some of you are trying to take up swim lessons, or if you're trying to, you know, like do something with like water and how, you know, like bodies of water and how it interacts. Others of you could literally work in a field that requires you to deal with water, like marine biology or something like that. Anyways, I could go on and on and on to try to like cover all bases, but point is, water, routine, be wary of schedule mix-ups, and be wary of janky communication in the middle of the week. And the moon will come into squares of Venus and Saturn, and we see this is pretty interesting. You know, Venus rules your second house as well as your seventh house. Saturn rules your 10th house. The moon's in your ninth house, opposing Jupiter as well. So I feel like the middle of the week could definitely present some kind of twists and turns of like education. So especially if you're in like school, something about mix-ups with like, you know, like your professors, with your teachers and whatnot. But for others of you, I also feel like this could be confusion revolving around your values and your self-esteem within your relationships, especially as it's like relating to like your spirituality and maybe even like your religion. So like I could see this as like, oh, like I want to be with someone who is spiritual, or oh, I want to be with someone who just like believes the way that I do. Or this could even be something about your like spiritual connection. So I almost wonder if some of you, you know, this could literally be like, oh, I feel them even though we are apart, you know. So some of you could be feeling relationships even though you are nowhere near that person. Or others of you, this could be something about developing philosophies in your mental health and developing a new perspective on your life, your relationships, your values, and also your money and what's really important to you. um, I also want to say that the moon will move through Capricorn at the end of the week, and it will square planets in your first house. So definitely something about your career, something about your work, what you want to do with yourself. I just kind of feel like this energy feels a little bit more, you know, like I feel like the end of the week will be a little bit more quiet, and it will be kind of like a silent burning kind of thing. But overall, I feel like when the moon moves through the 10th house, there's definitely an inclination to a desire to be less or more perceived. So I wouldn't be surprised if, especially with the moon squaring Neptune in Capricorn, some of y'all could be feeling a little bit all over the place at the end of the week, where you're like, no, like I don't want to be seen by the public, I don't want to be out there. But this other part of you is just like, man, I just want to be in the limelight. Especially with the moon also squaring Mercury. So some of y'all could be like, your mind could be on 10 this weekend. So the best advice that I have for you, Aries, is definitely lean into, you know, like healthier routines and habits. Make sure you get plenty of rest with Venus and Saturn still in your 12th house. I feel like, you know, a lot of you could benefit from consulting somebody to help you with like practices or health matters. But for others of you, I also feel like this is about developing a steady routine. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, plenty of water. And I feel like this week will go a lot more smoothly if you adhere to our basic human needs. I've been noticing a lot of Aries placements are not about that right now. Um, I think when the moon's moving through Capricorn at the end of the week, though, do let me know how that goes for you. But I kind of just feel like this is something about like your identity, your career, and what you want to do with yourself. Some of y'all could literally be applying to jobs, going back and forth of like employers and stuff like that. But overall, Aries, I feel like the best way to sum up this week for you is I feel like you're starting a new phase, and you're coming out of like a very difficult cycle when it relates to like your home and your family and your past. And I feel like you'll notice a lot of movement in your life, especially when it revolves around children, your ego, and just enjoying yourself more. kind of said the same thing to Sagittarius, but I feel like this week is literally just about like opening more doors to enjoy yourself more, make more time for fun, and finding a little bit more balance. Anyways, I'm gonna pull you a tarot card. I've been really liking this. This, like, I don't know. I'm so curious to see what comes out every time. Alright, and today you can actually see the card. Yay! So, let's see. Oh, this one really sticks out to me. It's just like, okay. For you, we have the 10 of Swords. Yeah, I definitely feel like with Mars moving out of your 4th house and, you know, being at that critical degree, being tried by the moon in Scorpio, I feel like a lot of you are cutting something off or like finally getting rid of something. I see this as like breaking up with like a very difficult relationship, moving out of your home, you know, your childhood home. I can see this as like, you know, like cutting off family members. Maybe you're coming to terms with like a loss in your family, you know, for some of you that could be going through something like that. For others of you, I also feel like this could be, you know, like cutting off a cycle or, you know, ending a very difficult cycle in your life. And not all the time is that a difficult thing to do. And although I feel like this week onwards, you'll be noticing a little bit more time to enjoy yourself, develop your ego, and have fun. It's just kind of like, I feel like the point here is that loss and endings is something that provides you the most perspective on how you should enjoy your life and how you should spend your time, whether it be, you know, like, it's a difficult thing. Like, 10 of Swords is not an easy card, but I think that you should know that you are at the end of a very difficult journey, and it's up to you to make out of it what you would like, you know, make lemonade. But you know, I noticed that this card is one of those things where it's kind of like, it's very painful, and it's like 10 swords is not a nice thing, but right after you'll notice that you're able to start anew and move on from what no longer is, and at least you have a solid answer on what is ending in your life, and you no longer have to, you know, like hold on, going back and forth, be like, oh, like maybe I should stay, maybe I shouldn't. No, it's over, and it's time to start something new. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Aries. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Alright, now moving on to Taurus rising. So, hello, Taurus rising. If you are seeing this, this would be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. However you say, Taurus, I feel like you'll have a pretty interesting week ahead of you compared to some other signs, because we will see the moon move through Scorpio at the beginning of the week, and this will be in your opposite sign. So whatever is going on in the beginning of the week, I definitely feel like something about your relationships is involved, but I feel like the energy feels like very mutual, or it kind of might feel like you are taking action with another person, or there's something that you're doing and it feels right, because we just finished a full moon in your 6th house, so I would imagine that there's something being rearranged with your health, your routines, and also your work situation, and especially if you work with like groups of people, because the ruler Venus is in your 11th house. So there's still kind of this focus on it. And by the way, Venus has stationed direct at the beginning of this week, literally the day that I'm uploading this, which is a really nice energy, because I feel like this shows that there is some forward momentum when it comes to things relating to like group projects, you know, maybe something about your dreams and your goals and ambitions as it relates to your health practices and your day-to-day regimen. And when the moon's moving through Scorpio, it will be trining Venus and Saturn in your 11th house, as well as Mars in Cancer in your 3rd, which is forming this nice grand water trine. And this is the last grand water trine we'll see, because Mars will be moving into Leo around the 18th. We also see Mercury move into Aries on the 16th yet again. And so we see more fire energy build up. And for you, I feel like this will definitely be something about your pride, your ego, but this could also be related to your home, your family. I definitely feel like a lot of Taurus risings have been going back and forth of communicating with people with Mars in your 3rd house, and it's probably been very tense, especially if you're on social media or anything of the sorts. So here's my thing. So Mars, sorry if you hear background noise, by the way, Mars rules your 12th house, and it's in your 3rd house, and it's forming a trine with the moon in your 7th house. That to me shows that like something will be revealed to you in a conversation with another person, and it kind of seems like there's either going to be an alignment of goals, or you deciding that there is other businesses or other things that you need to do, and this is you kind of like ending something off, because Mars is at that critical 29 degrees. So it definitely shows that whatever is going on in your third house of like communications, your car, moving around, talking to people, even relationships with like siblings, aunts, maybe there's like a woman, maybe she's been like staying with you, or maybe you've been staying with like a girlfriend or something, and then this is her like moving away or going back, you know, especially because Saturn rules your ninth house. So some of you could be dealing with like long distance matters with like relationships and friends, and social media and like digital stuff could be involved too, because the third house, you know, like texting people and whatnot. But overall, I just feel like my point is that in the beginning of the week, I feel like there will be something sorted out within your relationships and how you are communicating with other people, whether it be that you are coming to like a mutual agreement with them, or that you are healthily deciding to protect your peace in some way, shape, or form. And it will oppose Uranus in your sign. So I definitely feel like a lot of Taurus risings will be a little bit impulsive in the beginning of the week. So do keep an eye out for that. And then in the middle of the week, we will see the moon move through Sagittarius, which is a pretty intriguing energy because it's going to be hitting your 8th house. So, you know, I feel like in the middle of the week, there will be something going on with like intimacy, how you relate to people on a deeper level, opposing Jupiter. So maybe your values versus another person's values, you know, like what you believe in versus what another person believes in, what you think is important versus what another, so on and so forth. This could also be about money. I would imagine that some Taurus risings in the middle of the week are kind of going back and forth with something about their money. Like, you know, the 8th house is like insurance, it's taxes, it's things like money that is owed to whether it be you or another person, it's debts, it's other people's money, you know, like it's, to put it simply, if you go into the kitchen and you find $20 on the counter and it's not yours, that's the 8th house. So I feel like a lot of you could be dealing with something like that where you're interacting with other people's finances in the middle of the week. But the 8th house is also about fertility. It is also about intimacy. And with it trining planets in your 12th house, and at the same time Mercury will come into a conjunction with Neptune, I feel like it's really important for you guys to, one, not go crazy with the spending in the middle of the week. I think that if you're trying to pick up a debt or something, or if you're trying to rearrange your finances and your insurance, I would imagine that the middle of the week is not the best time to do that. I would probably wait until like the second half of the week when the moon is in Capricorn, a little bit more of a favorable energy, especially because it will be trining your ascendant. But I just feel like that opposition to Jupiter could be like sudden expansion of like your resources, and then maybe like another person's like benefiting off of that. But anyways, the moon will also square planets in your 11th house, namely Venus. So it definitely seems like there's something going on of like intimacy with friends, with groups of people. Sorry, I'm like really sick right now. So you could be going back and forth with something with like a group, like friends, groups of people. Like I said, it could be a woman for some of you, and for a select few of you, it could also be like something about like a father, like maybe like a father, like a friend's father or something. Or like maybe your friend is like going back and forth with like fatherhood because Saturn's involved. And Saturn does have ties with your 9th house. So once again, in the middle of the week, you could be going back and forth with something about like traveling. I've also noticed that because the Saturn has ties with the 9th house and the moon will be in the 8th house, I kind of feel like this could also be something about like property matters. So some of you could be like dealing with like foreign affairs, like property matters. Some of you could be trying to invest into traveling. So maybe you're trying to, you know, book a flight ticket or something, and maybe you're trying to like, and maybe it's for a work situation because, you know, like 11th house and 6th house, that makes me think of like a foundation or like an organization, and maybe you're like flying out, or maybe you're having to like travel long distances or like commute to something to attend something, maybe even a party. The 11th house is about celebration, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are just like driving an extra 1 or 2 hours to like attend an important party or like maybe an event. And I almost wonder if some of you are like signing up for events to maybe look for a job or look for opportunities with other people. But for others of you, like I said, you could be going back and forth with like property matters and like the insurance of it all and land. And some of you could be like doing this across long distances. And then at the end of the week, the moon will move through Capricorn, trining your ascendant, but it will square planets in your 12th house, which, by the way, the second half of the week, I think the middle of the week is a not like a good time to start finance stuff, but like the end of the week is not a good stuff, like good time to kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like I just feel like this week is not a good time to start things, but rather like maintain things and kind of like sort things through. But I just wouldn't be surprised if some of you are dealing with some kind of tangle ups, especially with like your like beliefs and philosophies, because the ninth and 12th house is about beliefs and philosophies. And this is a pretty existential combination in my eyes, so I wouldn't be surprised if like this has nothing to do with money at all, and a lot of Taurus risings are just like floating by this week, be like, oh, like what is the true meaning of life and whatnot. But it is trying to your ascendant, so the energy is a little bit more harmonious than in the middle of the week when it's in Sagittarius, because it doesn't aspect you at all, so it doesn't benefit you nearly as much as a trine. But I think the best way to sum up this week for you, Taurus, is I just feel like a lot of you are going back and forth with things that are hidden, and maybe a lot of you are either feeling the need, like I feel like a lot of you are having this sense of like, I need to be alone more, or you need to be alone less, because your chart ruler is in your 11th house, but at the same time we have planets building up in your 12th house. So I see this as like, I want to go out more, but my social battery dies so quickly. Or I feel like I'm being invited to so many different events. I'm having to go to all of these situations and stuff, but I kind of just like want to be alone. And be careful of like overstimulation. I think the best way to get through this week, Taurus, is to keep your momentum, keep moving, and make sure to look out for like intricate, like weird conversations, like romantic partners and anyone of the sorts. I think that my best advice to you is that accept clear communication this week, and everything should go according to plan. Anyways, let me pull you a tarot card. I also feel like some of you could be dealing with like a mentorship, or like trying to get a hold of someone to help you learn something because of that 9th house activation. Anyways, let's see what we get for you. So a card that we have for you is the 10 of Pentacles. So I definitely get the vibe that there's something going on of like heritage. So I almost wonder if some of you are dealing with like inheritances, or something about your money, or something about like family. The 10 of Pentacles is like the completion of, it gives me old money, so some of you could literally be dealing with that. But for others of you, I also feel like this is about your fulfillment, about being satisfied, of being happy financially. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you are coming into some random money this week, and I definitely feel like the energies are a lot more favorable than not favorable. I just think that the energy might kind of just feel like it like passes right over your head, and you kind of feel like you can't do anything about it, but in the end you kind of get something out of it. So definitely something going on with your family, definitely something going on with your finances and your money, but it's seemingly in a very positive way, and it seems like this is something that you have been working towards actively, or waiting for very patiently. So that's all I have for you, Taurus. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Gemini rising. So hello, Gemini rising. If you are seeing this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. I have to say, Gemini, I'm sorry for your background noise, or me like trying not to cough, because I'm like deathly ill right now, but I'm like pushing through. Anyways, now that out of the way, this will be your horoscope. So I kind of feel like, Gemini, this week for you seems like you're already getting the ball rolling, because your chart ruler is already direct since last week. And then we also had a full moon in Libra in your 5th house, which trined your ascendant. So definitely seems like something's going on here with things relating to friend groups, celebration, having fun, because your chart ruler Mercury will also be moving into Aries, your 11th house, on the 16th. And we also see Venus stationed direct on the 13th. So literally today when I'm uploading this. And so Mars will also move into your 3rd house, into Leo, on the 18th. So a lot of transits are going on this week, which I feel like, because your chart rulers are stationed direct, you've been kind of preparing for this week. And if anything, a lot of this stuff happened the previous week. But anyways, I feel like the highlight of the week is when the moon will be moving through Scorpio at the very beginning, because when it will form this trine with Mars and Venus and Saturn in your 10th, your 2nd, and your 6th house. So definitely something going on with like work, something about health, something about routine, how you stay in touch with your coworkers. And the trine to Mars is especially important in my eyes because Mars is entering that 29th degree before it moves into Leo, right? So it definitely seems like you're ending something or you're wrapping something up as it relates to your finances, with your money, with your values, with what's important to you. And Mars has rulership over your 11th house, and maybe something about your dreams, your goals, and your visions and what you imagine for yourself. Maybe even something about your friend groups and your values regarding platonic relationships and social circles. And with the moon moving through sixth house, I almost wonder if some of you, this is something about like charity, like the sixth house is about like serving others and the 11th house is about like groups of people. So I almost wonder if some of you are wanting to like join like a charity thing, or you're wanting to help people, or maybe there's something going on of that and how it relates to like money and values. And then with the trines to planets in your 10th house, this could definitely be something about like your resume, your career, your work, and what you're trying to do with yourself. Venus rules your fifth house as well as your 12th house. So this could be something about like mental health. So some of you might literally just be like joining like a group of people or something for like a mental health kind of thing. Or maybe there's like something where you're like working with like groups of people to like, you know, do things with like mental health. But this could also be something about like confusion, because the 12th house, you know, the 12th house really being the 10th house, it kind of seems like maybe there's like confusion around your career, or maybe there's like confusion about like what you want to do and how you want to enjoy yourself, how you want to spend your time, especially since Venus does rule your fifth house, which is about playtime, but also your ego. So I feel like Gemini, a lot of you are going into this week, now that you have the ball rolling, you're kind of like, like what do I imagine for myself? You know, what do I believe in? You know, what do I want for myself? What do I believe in? Versus what do I aspire for? You know, so it's kind of like a lot of you might be in the middle of setting intentions this week where you are wishing for more. And then the trine to Saturn is pretty peculiar. Saturn rules your eighth house. So this is like a deep kind of seated thing, you know, like eighth house is about like intimacy. So this could be something about like deeply relating to other people, you know, maybe through the internet, with Mars moving into your third house this week. So the third and 11th house being heavily activated, I definitely feel like there's going to be things going on from here on out with like your relationship with social media, like I said, with social groups and communities, even your siblings or friends that feel like siblings. For others of you, I kind of just feel like this could be something about like your car. Maybe some of you are doing something about like moving around, changing up your routine, changing up your daily habits, and it could be related to your schedule. And then the moon will move through Sagittarius in the middle of the week, which is a pretty peculiar energy. It will be opposing your ascendant, namely Jupiter as well, and squaring planets in your 10th house. And I know you hate to hear me say, but I feel like a lot of Gemini risings have been on the go with their career, or a lot of you have been like looking for work. I see your comments, or a lot of you have been going back and forth with like career stuff, you know, like parents, even because the 10th house could be authority figures, and it maybe could be related to the father because, you know, Saturn is there, Saturn's the father, and it could be related to like your finances, your money, and even for some of you, legal matters with the 7th house being activated by the moon. So some of you could be going back and forth with something about like a man and like legal matters, and like sums of money could be involved. Excuse me. And I kind of just feel like in the middle of the week, there's definitely something going on involving other people, you know. The nice thing is that the moon will trine planets in your 12th house. So I kind of feel like this could be, or excuse me, your 11th house. So I feel like a lot of you could be receiving assistance from like a group of people, like I said. But this could also be something about like your self-expression, your dreams for your relationships. And because your chart ruler Mercury will conjunct Neptune at the same time and trine the moon in Sagittarius, I feel like there could be a lot of potential for like delusion or confusion, but especially revolving around like relating to people. I noticed that in 11th house. I kind of feel like this could be something about like how you relate to people, like what you know, the way that you're thinking, the information that you are pursuing. And this could be something that you are kind of like always thinking about. So a lot of you could be, you know, like searching out groups of people. Some of you could be searching out like a help group or something, or maybe application. Maybe some of you are literally doing something with like interviews, going to, you know, back and forth with like calls with people. Some of you could even be trying to like I said, do like therapy or something, and it could involve like groups of people. But for others of you, I definitely feel like this could be something about a friend. There could be a specific friend in your life that is being like confusing, challenging, or just kind of like, you know, like being very flaky with you. Or you could be you know, like confused about where you stand in certain relationships. And I just kind of feel like the energy this week, you might kind of feel like you're trying to grab a hold of it, and when you do it, like you open your fist and, you know, like there's like nothing there. So I feel like the vibe this week is to kind of just like go with the flow and trust that not everything you see will be the way that it seems. And there's a lot of mirages at play here because your chart ruler is conjunct Neptune, you know, especially when it revolves around like your reputation, your career, and your work, and also your parents, because of Saturn in a Neptune rule sign. And then at the end of the week, we will see the moon move through Capricorn. So I feel like the end of the week will definitely be presenting some kind of news regarding your finances and your money. The thing is, it will square planets in your 11th house. I definitely feel like this is something about like emotionally relating to other people. This could be something about like your fears in like society, you know, like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to just be like a pointless, you know, like I don't want to, you know, I want to serve a purpose. I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to not accomplish anything in this lifetime. I want to contribute to this world. I have dreams, I have visions, you know, and Aries and Capricorn, like they have like a desire to prove themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised if like that's been an ongoing energy for you, but it might be something that's very accentuated at the end of the week where you're kind of like, yeah, no, like I have desires to do more for myself, and it could be related to like finances, your burdens, your fears, and even like an obsession, you know? Others of you could also be dealing with like obsession with other people, and Aries is about anger, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Gemini risings are adopting more of a temper on this week, and we see, you know, like a lot of fire energy start to meld into the sky. So I definitely think that this week for you, Gemini, the vibe is to watch your temper, take it easy, and know that strong feelings can be directed towards things that are productive and can get you a little bit farther, as opposed to stagnating you. You know, don't point a finger, take responsibility, and there's always something that you can do about it. It's not always that it's your fault, but sometimes it is better to just take accountability for it and move forward. Because I kind of just feel like planets in Aries calls for like a temperament, like your chart ruler being in Aries is just kind of like, you know, like sometimes like a low-key like selfish energy. And I just kind of feel like right now is a time to, you know, do work on yourself and focus on yourself and do what you want to do, and not be so concerned about relationships, especially if you feel like people are being flaky, inconsistent, or confusing with you, because I feel like there will be a tendency to try and solve that when in reality it might be something that you are projecting or what someone else is projecting, because there might be a lack of information there. And there's a lot of opportunity to do shadow work and to take steps towards to contributing to something that means more to you. Anyways, Gemini, let me start shuffling the cards. We can pull you a card before I let you go. Anyways. But yeah, I feel like this week for Gemini risings is just kind of like, okay, y'all, like, let me start planning, or like, you know, let me start cooking, because I feel like a lot of you have been cooking something this week. All right. Ooh, this one stuck out to me. Ooh, for you, we have the Three of Pentacles. See, I knew it. I definitely feel like a lot of Gemini risings are going back and forth with like collaborations, teamwork, teaming up with people, grouping up, working with others. But this could also be something about like, if you work in a corporation, you are working for another corporation, or maybe there could be something going on with like meeting friends of friends, mutuals, and stuff like that. Definitely, Gemini, if you're getting invited to anything, or if there are a window of opportunities to get out there and shake hands with people, absolutely do it. This is a really good week for that. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Gemini. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Cancer rising. So hello, Cancer rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Sorry in advance, Cancer. I have a little bit of a cold, so if you hear me like coughing or trying not to cough or sniffling, so sorry. Anyways, I definitely feel like this is a really big week, and it kind of seems like you're coming down from something because we just had a full moon in Libra right in your 4th house. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you got done with something of a move, changing something of your home situation, or just things going on with family matters, and something about your career as well, or something about your excuse me, relationship with authority figures. But we will finally see Mars move out of your sign this week, and it will move into Leo on the 18th. We also see Mercury move back into Aries on the 16th. and we see Venus stationed direct as of today. Amazing energy in my eyes. I definitely feel like there is something going on that kind of like a, not a final showdown kind of moment, because we see the moon move through Scorpio in the beginning of the week and form one last grand water trine with Mars in Cancer before Mars decides to finally ingress into Leo. And the reason I feel like this is so important is because Mars is at that critical 29 degrees. And as we see the moon finish up in Scorpio, it kind of seems like you're wrapping something up with your identity, yourself, your body, and how it relates to children, how it relates to romantic relationships, how you take risks, your ego, and maybe even something about the creative self-expression. And then this could also be related to long distance matters, education, something about school, something about traveling, or maybe even for some of you there could be something coming up with like a relationship or somebody who is far away, especially if you're dealing with things of family and like property matters, because we see your fourth house ruler stationing direct in the ninth house, and Venus also has ties with your 11th house. So I totally wouldn't be surprised if some of you are dealing with something about like friends. So maybe some of you could just be planning to visit friends who are very far away from you. But others of you, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are doing something with your family, and maybe something about extended family, especially with a woman. She could live very far away from you. And then Saturn is also involved. Saturn rules your 7th house. So this could be like a woman from like your dad's side of the family for some of you. But for others of you, I just feel like there's something going on here with like your relationships and, you know, your big picture idea of them, your dreams, your goals, and your aspirations for your connections. So some of you might be deciding to, you know, like, oh, like maybe you're moving in with a partner. Maybe you've already moved in with a partner with that full moon that happened in your 4th house. Or maybe some of you are seeing it as like, no, like I don't see myself moving in with this person, or oh, I've moved in with this person and I don't know if this energy resonates with me. I kind of just want to like not do this anymore. So a lot of you could be, you know, thinking back and forth about something in energy like that, but definitely the relationship with the home and your family and how it relates to people who may not be related to you, like blood wise, might be like very important this week. And it kind of seems like you're closing something out, or you're deciding to take some kind of action with it. And then I also kind of just feel like there's something going on here with like social circles, since the 11th house ruler is involved. And for others of you, you could be doing something with like legal matters and like property, because the 9th house can deal with property, and then the 7th house ruler is involved. So I almost wonder if some of you are trying to sell a property, or if some of you are dealing with like, you know, like legal matters and like papers and stuff. And with things happening in your 10th house, I totally wouldn't be surprised if for some of you this could indicate like something about like marriage or changing your status in some way. Some of you could be literally like closing out a chapter in a marriage or beginning a new chapter. But this could be for some of you, and it doesn't even have to be you going through it. It could be somebody else that's going through it and you're kind of just like witnessing it. And then in the middle of the week, we will see the moon move through Sagittarius in your 6th house of health, habits, routine, and pets. Pretty busy energy. I would imagine a lot of Cancer risings in the middle of the week are kind of getting caught up in doing things, especially with the opposition to Jupiter and the trines to planets in your 10th house, but then the squares to planets in your 9th house. I would definitely say, Cancer, if you have anything going on in the beginning of the week with things of what I just mentioned in the beginning about like, you know, property matters and whatever, I would prefer, or I would say that doing it in the beginning of the week might be a little bit more peaceful to do, or the energy might be easier to gain some momentum with, because as these squares form, the friction might kind of grow intense, you know, and it wouldn't be surprising if it kind of got in the way of your schedule, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if this person's like, hey, can you fly out over here? Hey, can you get on a meeting with me on this? And then you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, like, who's going to take care of the dog while I'm gone? Or, oh, like, I have a dentist appointment. Or, oh, like, I have to, like, go, you know, to, like, this, I don't know, like, Sagittarius makes me think of, like, yoga for some reason. So, like, yoga lessons, or, you know, it doesn't have to be anything of that, but it could just be that a lot of you are going back and forth with something about, like, your health and your routine, and, so, you know, like, just your day-to-day responsibilities, and that might be getting in the way of something else that maybe somebody is surprising you with or making you feel obligated towards. And then at the end of the week, we will see the moon moving through Capricorn, which I definitely feel like at the end of the week, there will be a lot going on with your relationships because the moon's in your opposite sign. But if I had to be honest, I feel like the moon being in your opposite sign and in its detriment kind of might feel like there's some kind of like uncomfortable things that you're having to air out with your connections, especially because the moon will be coming to squares with planets in your 10th house. And throughout this week, especially in the second half, we will see Mercury in this conjunction with Neptune. Mercury rules your 12th house as well as your third house. So I could on one hand see this as like communication with people, like secret conversations, because Neptune and like the 12th house really makes you think of like secret conversations, and it could be at work. So I would be wary of like workplace drama. So especially if you're like dealing with that and like long distance matters. So if you work like remote, or if you like are having to commute for work this week. So anything that comes up about that, I would definitely keep a lookout for it and really trust your gut with that, especially because Mercury Neptune can be like a very sneaky, deceptive energy. And in Aries, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you kind of deal with like unprovoked accusations or arguments. So be wary of anything like that. But not to say that this week will be like, you're constantly dealing with things. I definitely feel like with your chart ruler moving through Sagittarius in the middle of the week, just kind of like this happy-go-lucky energy and like dealing with like your routine, because like I said, I feel like some of you are organizing something or organizing your life and your connections and catching up with other people, even though it might have been kind of like you fell behind in some kind of regard in that area of your life because you had something going on in your personal life. But I feel like this week is essentially you kind of like recovering from that and bouncing back. Anyways, let me pull you a tarot card, Cancer. See. All right. Oh, this one stuck out to me. For you, we have the Hierophant. Very interesting card. This is associated with Taurus, which I definitely like because your 11th house ruler is pretty active this week, Venus. So this is about community. I totally wouldn't be surprised if some of you are getting together with the community, joining a new foundation. I see this as like a new job, maybe something about school. With the 9th house being so active, this could be like, like joining groups of people or like getting your foot into a sort of door. The Hierophant to me is also about opportunities and unlocking something. And definitely the sense of bringing structure and discipline into your life. I totally wouldn't be surprised either if some of you are going through like a mentorship or you are trying to join something in order to garner more information from another person. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Cancer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Leo rising. So hello, Leo rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Before anything, Leo, I'm so sorry if you hear me sniffly or attempting not to cough because I'm a little bit sick right now. But anyways, I definitely feel like this week is movement oriented because we see a lot of planets changing directions. We will see Mars move from Cancer to your sign, Leo, on the 18th. We will also see Mercury move into Aries on the 16th. And we also see Venus start this week off with her going direct. And we also just had a full moon in your third house. So definitely seems like there's been themes going on around communicating and something about breakthroughs through talking to others or expressing your deeper emotions and how you emotionally relate to people, especially if you have siblings or if you are going to things like therapy or you are, hitting up the psychiatrist, if you know what I mean. But I feel like the most important part of the week will be the beginning of it because we see the moon moving through Scorpio. And the reason why I feel like this is so important is because the moon will form one last grand water trine with Venus, Saturn, and the node as well as Mars. And this is accentuated because we see Mars
touching that 29th degree. So it kind of seems like you're closing out something, and it seems to be related to your home, your family, your past, your upbringing, as well as your deeper emotions, other people's money, and something about your mental health, your well-being, and maybe things that were not as apparent to you, because the 12th house can represent hidden things. So definitely could be something going on with like the home front. The fourth and the eighth house being involved totally makes me wonder if some of you are going back and forth with things going on of like property, or going back and forth about financing a home. But for others of you, this could be something about your childhood, or something about deeper, more repressed emotions. I totally feel like with all the Piscean energy in the skies, we've been seeing a lot of Leo risings kind of dealing with like their deeper feelings, and the way that this is being expressed or even projected. And I kind of feel like with your ninth house ruler being involved in forming one last water trine and touching that 29th degree, definitely seems to be something about your beliefs, your existence. I feel like the ninth and 12th house being involved together in any sort of way is like a very existential energy. So some of you could be asking some pretty big questions for yourself. And Venus is involved as well. Venus rules your third house as well as your 10th house, and then Saturn rules your 6th house. So for some of you, this could literally just be about your health. Maybe there's something going on with your health and your well-being, your routines. The 8th house could be related to fertility, so some of you could be dealing with something like that as well. And Venus and Saturn together, it could be something about a relative. So maybe some of you are dealing with something about like a distant relative, and maybe they're going through something about their health, and this is you kind of like closing out a chapter in some way, shape, or form of that. But overall, I feel like there's just like an emphasis on your home and your comfort and your sense of emotional stability in the beginning of the week. And especially since the moon in Scorpio squares your ascendant, and it will also oppose, Uranus and Taurus in your 10th house. So, or excuse me, it will oppose it, but seems to be something going on in the beginning of the week of your career as well. So, I feel like some of you could also be dealing with something about your career and your paying of that. So, maybe some of you are doing your taxes, or maybe some of you are going back and forth about like workers' insurance or something of that nature. Just something about how money and career interacts, and what money is given to you versus what money is like owed to you, or what money you might owe to them. So especially if some of you have been dealing with like legal matters, and I wouldn't be surprised with like Pluto moving through your 7th house. But the middle of the week, we will see the moon move through Sagittarius, and it will trine your ascendant, which is pretty nice. And out of all the fire signs, you're the only one that will see a grand fire trine form. So I definitely feel like in the middle of the week, you could be feeling it a little bit more warmth. You'll be feeling a little bit more excitement, a little bit more passion, a little bit more fun. The 5th house is about having fun. You're very familiar with it. I totally wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Leo risings in the middle of the week are just feeling like taking some risks, stepping out of the ordinary, doing things, just for the fun of it. The moon will square planets in your 8th house. So if you're thinking of gambling in the middle of the week, I wouldn't do that. I would kind of stay away from like taking big financial risks in the middle of the week too, or kind of like, like if you're going to do things like that, you like the whole point of gambling is just to like do it. So like I would just stay away from like taking bigger risks, or like doing more after losing. But anyways, that's besides the point. I also feel like for some of you, this could be something about like child support, because the 5th house can deal with kids, and the 8th house is, like money, or like other people's money. So like some of you could be dealing with like child support. Others of you, I almost wonder if this is something about another woman, and she's like dealing with child support, and you're having to like assist her, since Venus, Saturn. So some of you could be like helping your parents, or there could be something about like financing a health situation, because Saturn rules your 6th house. So some of y'all could be dealing with something about, like maybe some of you are doing something with your, like you're trying to have kids, and maybe you're like getting very clinical about it. But for others of you, I've been noticing that some Leo risings are also, again, like hitting up like the dentist, the orthodontist. So in Sagittarius, like tends to elongate things or create distance. So maybe some of you are having to travel a little bit farther for things like this, and maybe you're trying to consult somebody who is more distant and more physically distant, if you know what I mean. And maybe even for some of you, this is for a kid. So maybe some of you, you're having to take a kid to a doctor, or you're having to take your child, to go see an orthodontist or something like that. But for others of you, I also feel like this could be intimacy within your relationships, like emotionally relating to romantic partners. Maybe some of y'all are, again, real casual with it, if you know what I mean, in the middle of the week. And then at the end of the week, the moon will be moving through Capricorn in your 6th house. So I definitely feel like if you're not dealing with anything health related in the beginning or like the first chunk of the week, I definitely feel like all Leo risings will kind of be focused on their routine and their health and their regime at the end of the week. And we will also see the moon square planets in your 9th house, and at the same time we also see Mercury come into this conjunction with Neptune. So definitely this could be something about like water. Mercury rules your 11th house as well as your 2nd house, so some of y'all could be investing into like water. I totally wouldn't be surprised if it's like maybe you're investing in property that's near water, or maybe you're trying to fix property with water. Others of you, maybe this is something about long distance friends who live by a body of water, or maybe even like a school. For others of you, I would imagine that this is something going on with like educational pursuits, and maybe you're dealing with either major confusion or a lot of inspiration where you're very determined to achieve something with your educational pursuits. Others of you could be feeling very confused about what you want to do. And I feel like this squares to the 6th house. Others of you, if you work, this could definitely be like a huge mix-up within like a work situation. So I would be wary of anything going on with that. You could be dealing with things where you're having to commute for work, or you're having to travel long distances for work. I don't think it'll be as severe as last year by any means, but I definitely feel like for a lot of Leo risings at the end of the week, you could kind of see like your routines and your day-to-day habits are having like an expansion to them, because the 9th house likes to expand things. So I would just say like go into this week prepared, knowing that like things will have a tendency to be way more out of proportion than you thought. So like, for example, like you think that the drive to work is only 15 minutes, it could end up being like half an hour to an hour or something. Or it's like, oh, you're only covering this person's shift for one day. No, like, or like half a day, but it ends up being like the whole day. You know what I'm saying? So, and for others of you who don't work, this could be something about like your health and your routine, and maybe you're trying to get it together in something like that, or maybe you're trying to expand your knowledge on making your day-to-day life a little bit more productive. Anyways, I just feel like a lot of Leos are definitely going through something this week where you're trying to tweak something about your life in small ways to make it more prolific and healthier for you. Anyways, I'm going to pull a tarot card for you before we kind of wrap things up and I send you off. I think this one. Let's take this one. Okay, so for you, we have the 6 of Wands. I really like this card. I think it's a really positive card. I definitely feel like a lot of you could feel very victorious this week, especially because the Wands is about fire. You're that grand fire trine. I feel like a lot of you will be feeling very excited this week. There could be some sort of a victory or moment where you're just feeling like validated. I mean, which Leo rising wouldn't want that attention? So I definitely think that some of you this week are receiving some kind of recognition, being put on a pedestal, or people could be admiring you. You could be receiving recognition, especially if you're like in a work situation. Like I totally see this as like coworkers, or like you getting like an award or something. But for others of you, I just feel like this week will just feel a lot more fun, a little bit more enjoyable than the preceding weeks. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Leo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Virgo rising. So hello, Virgo rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Before anything, Virgo, I'm so sorry if you hear me like pause for a second or sniffle, because I'm super sick right now. So I'm like pushing through my deathbed. Anyways, I definitely feel like Virgo this week is I think the middle of the week you'll be feeling more of the pressure, you especially, out of every single zodiac sign, because we will be seeing the moon move through Sagittarius, forming basically a grand mutable cross in your chart, and you're the only mutable sign that will like feel this. All mutable signs will be feeling this, but I just feel like you will be feeling this the most out of anyone else. And you'll definitely feel like things are moving along slowly but surely, but it's big progress. But before anything, we see a lot of important transits because we will see Mars finally move out of Cancer and move into Leo on the 18th. And we will see your chart ruler Mercury move into Aries again on the 16th. And we also see Venus start this week off by stationing direct, literally the day that I'm uploading this. And we also just had a full moon in Libra in your second house. So I feel like a lot of Virgo risings are kind of going into this week. Maybe there's something going on with like a reveal with your finances, but also things revolving around your values. And it could be related to relationships and legal matters. But I feel like the beginning of the week will definitely be the most important part because we will be seeing the moon move through Scorpio and it will form a grand water trine with Mars one last time before Mars finally moves into Leo. And I feel like this is accentuated because Mars is at that 29th degree. So it seems like you're closing something out. And with the moon in your third house, this seems like something about communicating with another person, you know, trining planets in your seventh house. So I totally see this as like maybe some of you are receiving a lot of communication going back and forth with somebody. I see this as like a job interview. I see this as like catching up with friends, you know, like chit chatting. This could be with a sibling. Venus rules your second house as well as your ninth house. So this could also be extended family that you are speaking to. Maybe this is something about like a family member who is very like distant from you. I have to say, like with Saturn ruling your fifth house and Saturn being involved in this too, I almost wonder if this involves children. But for others of you, I think that this could also be something about property matters because the ninth house ruler is involved and seventh house and the third house. So some of you could be like speaking to like someone about like a property matter, like legal matters. But for others of you, I just kind of feel like a lot of you are having some conversations. And I definitely feel like Virgos, you're starting this week out thinking very big, or you are very kind of concerned about learning more and more. And be careful. I feel like a lot of you could just like tend to gloss over the details this week, kind of just like thinking big picture, like, okay, like what's like the grand scheme of it all. And I think that with your chart ruler moving into your eighth house, like you're going to be a very deep thinker from here on out for like the next few weeks. And I feel like there's something being closed out between you and another person. And because the Mars is in your 11th house, I feel like a lot of Virgo risings have been like, you know, like dealing with things about like emotionally relating to groups of people, but especially like social circles and maybe even like people online. And I feel like something about that is kind of like being concluded this week, or something about that. It's like you were setting your final intentions before Mars moves into your 12th house, and you kind of like unpack a lot of deeper emotions, especially as it relates to like your pride and your ego. But I feel like a lot of you could be experiencing some kind of, not necessarily an ending, but like I said, like a conclusion with like another person or maybe like a group of people. And then with your fifth house ruler being involved as well, I feel like this is revolving around your pride, your ego, and what you think is important. I also feel like some of you could be like low-key be feeling like taking risks, especially like the beginning of the week. I feel like a lot of Virgo risings will comment on my videos, or like here and there they'll be like, can I gamble this week? I think the beginning of the week is actually not a bad time to do that. So if you want to do that, you know, like I don't know though, but it's like if you want to, I'm not gonna. I think the beginning of the week would be better than the second half of the week. How about that? Anyways, in the middle of the week, we will be seeing the moon move through your fourth house. And this is where we see this grand immutable cross. It will form a square to Venus, Saturn, the nodes, and then an opposition of Jupiter. So a lot of movement. There's really no one way to pinpoint this energy. It's literally just like a lot of energy. You will be seeing lots of things that get a move on: your relationships, your home, your family, your career, your work. And I think that all mutable signs, especially Sagittarius, so pray for them. You'll be seeing a lot of things going on. I feel like that's like the best way to say it. Like this middle of the week, it just might feel like it's all hands on deck, or it might just kind of feel like you are focused on a lot of things at one time. But the nice thing is though that your chart ruler is in Aries, so and the ruler Mars is moving into your 12th house or into a fellow fire sign. So the energy will be a little bit more cohesive, and you will notice that there is a little bit more passion to it, whereas Mars in Cancer has probably been kind of like difficult to work with. But I feel like the focal point will definitely be something about your home. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Virgo risings are getting news about something about like a home situation. So some of you could be moving, some of you could be changing locations. Maybe some of you are going to go stay with someone else for a little bit. Some of you could literally be traveling, or maybe there is someone that is coming in to stay with you. Maybe it's like an older woman, could involve kids. Like some of you could be babysitting, some of you could just be dealing with something about family members and your career, maybe something about your career, your work, and what you're doing for your craft is something about that and how it interacts with your home and your family. Something about that could be like getting tweaked this week. And then at the end of the week, we will be seeing the moon move through Capricorn in your 5th house. Really nice energy for you, especially if you're like a third, the last decade of Virgo, so like 20 to 29 degrees, because we will see the moon form a grand earth trine with the south node, the Uranus and Taurus, and the moon in Capricorn. So definitely seems like there's something going on here with your relationships, especially like your romantic ones. But for others of you, I also feel like this could be something about like random changes going on with long distance matters, but also wanting to learn more about something. So I almost wonder if a lot of Virgo risings, I feel like with all the low-key Jupiterian energies in the sky throughout this week, there's going to be something going on with like wanting to learn more, see more. So some of you could be wanting to travel. I also feel like a trine between the 5th and 9th house with Uranus involved could totally be like imposed by like plane tickets, or like maybe some of you are like traveling this week, or like maybe some of you will just be like, oh, let me just drive like 5 hours away and go to like this town, like if you're in a state or in a location where you're able to do something like that. So a lot of Virgos, I just feel like will be having fun this week through seeing more and sightseeing or just learning something new. And keep in mind that when the moon's in Capricorn, it will square planets in your 8th house. So I totally feel like this could be something about like your romantic relationships if you are in one. But this, for others of you, I feel like this could be something about like your desire for romance or your desire for intimacy. But for others of you, this could also be something about like child support, 8th and 5th house. This could be something about money. This could be something about like I said, horrible time to gamble. I would not gamble at the end of the week. But I also feel like this could be about your ego, your connection with yourself at a deeper level. Maybe there's something about asserting yourself more, standing up for yourself more. And honestly, I feel like the lesson of the week this week, Virgo, or the way that you can navigate it is by advocating for yourself, being direct. I think that with Mercury being conjunct Neptune, there could be a lot of confusion within relationships, and there could be like uncertainty within, power dynamics and your identity. And I feel like standing up for yourself, even if it's wrong or even if it's something that isn't necessarily in line, it will help you kind of figure out the lines and what's good and not good. Otherwise, you might find yourself kind of like getting lost in a dynamic all over again. Anyways, let's pull you a tarot card before we kind of wrap things up here. Take this one. All right, the card that I pulled for you is Ace of Pentacles. We love to see it. I definitely feel like some of you could be receiving like sort of like a job opportunity or some kind of like material opportunity. And I definitely see this as like the grand mutable cross that you'll be seeing in the middle of the week. So this could be like a home opportunity. So maybe some of you are landing a lease. Maybe some of you are landing like a new place. Maybe some of you are landing a new job, a new relationship that will last, longer. Something of that nature, some kind of, it doesn't even have to be like an earthy material thing. This could also be something of like something that will last a very long time, right? Pentacles. But I definitely feel like you'll be receiving an opportunity this week or creating yourself an opportunity, something that promises longevity and requires investment. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Virgo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Alright, now moving on to Libra rising. So hello, Libra rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Before anything, Libra, I'm so sorry if you hear me pausing. It's me trying not to cough and also sniffling because I'm really sick right now, so we're just pushing through. Anyways, Libra, I really like this week for you. I think I like this week a lot for you compared to Taurus because both of you are Venus ruled, and we see Venus finally stationing direct the day that this is going up, this video. And we also see some favorable transits. We will see Mercury move into Aries on the 16th and Mars finally moving into Leo after being in Cancer for how long on the 18th. I really like your chart ruler stationing direct, especially in the 6th house. I feel like so many Libra risings have been dealing with so much at like a work situation or if like their routine, and especially as it relates to like getting sleep. Oh my gosh, I heard a Libra rising be like, yeah, I haven't been able to sleep because I'm so anxious about work. So a lot of you could be dealing with that where your quality of life seems to be suffering or kind of like being like scrutinized in some sort of way. And I definitely feel like a lot of Libra risings will see some kind of promising movement in that regard in their life. Do keep in mind that Venus is marching towards another conjunction with Saturn. So whatever it might be, it's not over quite yet, but you will start to feel like there is more forward movement in this sector of your life. And I definitely feel like the beginning of the week is the most important part of the week because we will see the moon move through Scorpio. And the reason why I feel like this is so important is because the moon will form one last grand water trine with Venus, Saturn, the North Node, as well as Mars in your 10th house. And this is between your 2nd and your 6th house. So this could be something about your values and self-worth at work. So if you've been feeling like you've been being exploited, or if you're dealing with coworkers, bosses, or something, especially like a woman taking advantage of you, you know, like a higher up person or someone who's like doing too much. This doesn't even have to be like a work situation. This could also be like something about like a home situation because Saturn's involved, and Saturn rules your 4th house. So this could be like a family member. And Venus rules your 8th house. So this could be something about like money. So I almost wonder if some of you are going back and forth with a boss or somebody, or excuse me, or somebody that you live with, and it could be revolving around money. It's like, no, like you paid this last month and I paid this, and or I paid this the past 2 months, it's your turn to pay this, and you're like, no, I have the, you know, like something about that could be coming up for some of you. But for others of you, this could be about like your ego. You're like, you know what, like I'm done with this job, like I deserve more, or like, hey, like you didn't pay me for last week or something like that. So whatever it might be, I think that it will kind of get sorted out here in the next 2 weeks. But I also feel like for some of you, this could be like relationships because Mars is your 7th house ruler, and we see Mercury move into your 7th house, conjunct Neptune. Mercury rules your 9th house as well as your 12th house. Totally, Libra, just be wary this whole week of misdirected passion in relationships or like misdirected anger. You know, Aries can be about temper. For others of you, this could be like long distance matters. For some of you, you could be going back and forth with property. For others of you, this could be something about like your mental health. Maybe you are dealing with like confusion within relationships or how you relate to other people in like versus like your identity. I think that this could definitely resort to your values because we see the moon in a Martian ruled sign in the beginning of the week. So I definitely feel like the beginning of the week is a good time to feel through these more intense emotions, especially as it relates to like your past, your upbringing, your childhood, and how that's going to influence your relationships now that you are more grown up. And in the middle of the week, we will see the moon move through Sagittarius, and it will form a grand mutable cross. So pray for your mutable rising friends. And the moon, this can apply to any mutable placement, but especially the risings. The moon will form a square with Venus, Saturn, as in opposition with Jupiter, and a square with the nodes. So I definitely feel like there's like a lot of movement going on in the middle of the week. Very busy. Your 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th house all being activated at once. Kind of seems like there's something going on of like your routines and like moving around. Like the 3rd house being activated by the moon. I see this as like driving. So in the middle of the week, some of you could be like, driving. Maybe some of you are like going back and forth with like calls. interviews and whatnot. So middle of the week is just like a very busy part of the week. So if you're looking to prepare for a certain part of the week, or if you're anticipating something, I definitely feel like it could be like Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere around that threshold. And for others of you, you could be dealing with something about like a car. Oh my gosh, Libra, I like to say this every time I see anything going on of like the third house. If you're doing that thing where you go to work and then you come home at like night and you're like, oh, should I get gas? Maybe I should do it in the morning. Don't do it. Just get it the night before. You'll thank yourself later. If there are opportunities to prepare ahead of time this week, especially the first chunk of it, absolutely do it. You're going to be grateful that you did it later on. Because I feel like if you push things ahead, and if you like lay things off for later on, it will definitely come back to bite you in the arse, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I just kind of feel like the beginning of the week is a really good time to prepare for things. In the middle of the week is a time where you want to make sure that everything is laid out for you as much as possible. Otherwise, you might be left kind of scrambling and running late for things, or kind of having to catch up on things that could have been done earlier. And then at the end of the week, we will see the moon move through Capricorn, and we see this form like a T-square. So especially if you're like the first decan or third decan of Libra, so like 0 to 10 degrees of Libra rising, or like 20 to 29 degrees of Libra rising, you will be feeling this T-square pretty intensely. Something about your home, something about your relationships, even something about like legal matters. Some of you could be dealing with like signing a lease at the end of this week, or some of you could be like dealing with something about your living situation. If you want a pointer about what to look out for if you're moving into a new place, pay attention to the water, pay attention to the water system, pay attention to like just like water, and like how that like turn on all the faucets, make sure the bathtubs are working, make sure that the bathroom sink is running, make sure that there's no water damage or like mold. Just keep an eye out for that. Check the water heater. For others of you, I feel like maybe this is something about like moving overseas, since Neptune is involved, and then Mercury, your ninth house ruler, is involved. So some of you could be moving overseas to foreign lands, maybe somewhere you've never lived before. For others of you, I also feel like this could be something about like a family member. So maybe like a distant relative is like reaching out to you, and you're very like confused by it. You're like, girl, what is this? And it could be like a relative that like you haven't heard from in a really long time, or like you didn't even know existed. For others of you, I would imagine that this is like you getting into contact with someone whom you just haven't been in contact with for like a very long time. But definitely at the end of the week, there's something going on with like your home front and your family. And I feel like a lot of you could be receiving news. I feel like a lot of Libra risings are like low-key going through something, or like anticipating something going on with their home. So I definitely feel like the end of this week could bring some kind of news or some new emotions regarding that aspect of your life. And I feel like a lot of you could be dealing with like a past relationship. It doesn't have to be that someone from the past is coming back. I just kind of feel like some of you could be ruminating about a past relationship, or dealing with something about a past relationship, because the fourth house rules the past. But overall, I feel like some of you could also be dealing with like partners. So like if you live with a partner, or if a partner is moving in with you, or you're moving in with a partner, something about that could be scrutinized at the end of the week, or something about that could be coming up. So like this could literally be you signing a lease with a partner, and you're like, oh, let's move in together, so something about that. But I feel like the end of the week could also be very healing for you if you allow it to be, with your identity, desire to be independent in relationships, and to accomplish more at home, and to develop a steady home for yourself. I think that this weekend will bring up a sore spot in that regard. So it's your choice to either lean into it and heal, or to block it out and project it onto other people, Libra. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's pull you a tarot card before I kind of send you off. All right, let's see. This one. Ooh, for you, we have the Knight of Wands. So some of you could literally be dealing with a Knight of Wands, with all these planets in your 7th house in Aries. But for others of you, this could definitely be something about you and passion. Knight of Wands is like a very impulsive energy. It's a very fun energy. He likes to prove himself through his passions. He likes to act on his first impulse. So definitely you could be dealing with someone who is like that, or you could be in this mood this week where you're wanting to be more impulsive, more spontaneous, and you're more passion driven, and you're more drawn to things that are immediately exciting and stimulating. And like I said, you could also be dealing with someone that is like that. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Libra. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Alright, now moving on to Scorpio rising. So hello, Scorpio rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Before anything, Scorpio, if you hear me like pause or sniffling, it's because I'm trying to like catch my breath because I'm kind of sick right now. Anyways, so there's definitely a lot going on this week because we will see Mars finally move signs, which is really important for you since you're Mars ruled, and it will move into your 10th house. So from this week onwards, you'll be noticing some kind of change going on with your career, or there's just a sudden movement with your reputation and your craft and your public status. And we will also see Mercury move into Aries on the 16th again. And we also see Venus station direct in your 5th house. So I really like all these energies for you because it kind of seems like they're more in your favor, more so than other signs, because Mars is finally moving into a fire sign. And even though it is squaring your ascendant and coming into an opposition with Pluto slowly but surely, it definitely seems like a lot of Scorpio risings are garnering some kind of power, or you're kind of getting a move on with your career and doing something with putting yourself out there, or at least just getting it together with what you want to do for your work. And I feel like the beginning of the week is very important because we see the moon moving through your sign, and it will form one last grand water trine with Venus, Saturn, and Mars, and also the North Node. And I feel like the trine to Mars is especially important because Mars will be reaching that critical 29th degree before it moves into Leo, obviously. And so I kind of feel like there's something kind of like going on here with like endings, especially with like long distance matters, long distance relationships, connections, maybe something revolving around children. But I definitely feel like other people will be involved in some way, shape, or form, whether it be your beliefs around them or just like actual people or how you feel about them, because your 7th house ruler Venus is involved, and she just stationed direct as well. And Venus also rules your 12th house. So I feel like a lot of you are closing out a very hefty cycle with behaviors that you exhibit in relationships, or maybe you're closing out a chapter with another person, and it seems to be something about like unhealthy cycles or cycles that you are not aware of, especially if you feel like you self-sabotage, or if you feel like the people around you have a tendency to self-sabotage or even like project onto you. I know all Scorpio risings deal with that. And so I kind of just feel like the middle of the, or like the beginning of the week, you're starting a new chapter, or you're kind of like closing one out, and that is causing a new chapter. And Saturn rules your 3rd house, so I totally wouldn't be surprised if this is something about like meeting someone on like an app, or meeting someone through like an event or something, like maybe something of a community. For others of you, I feel like this could be you maybe going to like couples therapy, maybe you're going to like see a therapist, maybe this is you consulting someone. The 5th house ruler, or the 5th house, the 3rd house ruler being in the 5th house, I almost wonder some of you could also be seeing a doctor. This makes me think of like for like children, so maybe you're seeing a doctor to help you with like fertility things. For others of you, this could also be about like maybe you're taking your child to the doctor, and maybe it's like about their bones, maybe it's something about their physical therapy, or something like that. Maybe it's like about their teeth, so maybe this is about like orthodontics, because like Saturn Capricorn makes you think of like the joints, makes you think of bones, makes you think of the teeth, so something like that. But overall, Scorpio, I kind of just feel like this week is starting out pretty strong for you, where you're able to close out a cycle before you see your chart ruler move into a fire sign, so that passion can be a little bit more easy coming to you. And then in the middle of the week, we will see the moon moving through Sagittarius, and it will form a grand mutable cross with the nodes, with Venus, with Saturn, with Jupiter. And this definitely seems very financially themed for you, especially if you're like going back and forth with like money and kids. But I kind of feel like for a lot of you, this is something about like friend groups as well, like your ego, your self-esteem, your confidence, your values, and how that seems to kind of relate to people. Excuse me, I almost coughed. I totally see this as like also maybe like something about like dating and friend groups. I feel like a lot of Scorpio risings could be discussing values and etiquette within relationships. And maybe this is also about like intimacy, like emotionally relating to people. I wouldn't be surprised if some Scorpio risings find out that like a friend is like deeply in love with them, or something about like a friend group and like relationships and like how that kind of interacts is kind of changing around. Siblings could be involved in some way, shape, or form. That could be significant. I also just feel like a lot of Scorpio risings could be like driving throughout this week. So you could be like driving and you could be finding a lot of joy in just like going out driving. Pisces makes me think of like nighttime, and the third house ruler being in Pisces makes me think of like late night drive. So some of you could be going out a little bit late. Some of you could be spending time with someone at a late age. For some of you, this could also be like a sister. Maybe she's having a kid, and maybe this is like, you know, the week where like something is like going through with that. I think with the Venus Saturn conjunctions that have been going on, whatever theme you kind of face this week in regards to the themes I've been mentioning for the past like minute or so, I feel like it's been something that you have been dealing with for a while now. So definitely not something that will necessarily be a surprise, but you will see some kind of forward advancement, especially if you're dealing with like your own relationships. And then at the end of the week, we will be seeing the moon move through Capricorn. Definitely want to keep an eye out for this because this will be in your third house. So I feel like the end of the week will be pretty busy for you, running errands, getting phone calls, communicating with people, going back and forth. And it will square planets in your sixth house, namely Mercury, Neptune, who are in this little conjunction. And Mercury rules your eighth house as well as your 11th house. So I feel like a lot of you could be running favors for friends. So like maybe friends are being like, hey, like, do you want to run this errand with me? Hey, do you want to help me with this? And for others of you, there could be things going on with like coworkers, making friends with coworkers. And even for a select few of you, this could be something about like your health. Maybe you're consulting someone, or maybe you're joining like a group of people or something to help you with your health practices. But overall, I kind of just feel like this could also be something about like intimacy and like relating to people on a deeper level. The moon's in Sagittarius, or excuse me, I feel like that'll be more towards the middle of the week because the moon will be in a Jupiter ruled sign. Jupiter's in your eighth house. But I also feel like this could be like communication. Like, end of this week, I would be wary, Scorpio, especially if you're anticipating any like schedule mix-ups. I feel like the end of this week there could be something going on with like conflict at work, especially like verbal stuff, because Aries is war, and then Capricorn does not like, you know, like being talked about. So I kind of feel like at the end of this week, I would be wary of any kind of like heated conversations, especially like passive aggression, and you know, Neptune being involved. Like maybe there's like workplace dating drama because Neptune has ties with your fifth house. So if y'all do work and y'all are in a situation where coworkers are dating, or you're dating a coworker, that could be a little bit dicey this weekend. So I'll just keep a lookout for that. Overall, Scorpio, I kind of just feel like this is going to be one of those weeks where you're kind of just catching up on something with like your health and your wellness, and then as this energy kind of gains momentum, it will kind of bleed into your career and getting it together with some kind of like professional aspect of your life, because I feel like there's something that you've been wanting to put energy towards for a very long time now, but maybe you haven't been able to, and maybe it's been because of like travel, or like, you know, having to go back and learn something more, or maybe you've just been concerned with other things. But I definitely feel like this week will be like a golden opportunity for you to finally get in order with like your goals and your dreams and what you want to do. Anyways, let's play you a tarot card. Alright, let's read this one. For you, we have the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords. I totally wouldn't be surprised if some Scorpio risings are ending relationships. I think that with planets moving through your 5th, your 12th house, or your 12th house ruler in your 5th house, stationing direct, and then Mars moving out of Cancer, I can see this as letting go of deep emotional attachments. And it doesn't really feel like the Three of Swords is like a new heartache, but rather releasing an old heartache and finally removing the Three Swords out of your heart and coming to terms with something. And I feel like this is what is allowing you to move forward and heal and break some unhealthy cycles in your life. So I feel like through acknowledging a pain that you've maybe been projecting or seeking in others, you're able to break a very difficult cycle and develop a deeper relationship with yourself that is attracting more genuine love into your life. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Scorpio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Capricorn rising. So hello, Capricorn rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Before anything, Capricorn, so sorry if you hear background noise or like random pauses. I'm kind of sick right now, so I'm just like fighting through. But anyways, Capricorn, I feel like you have a pretty interesting week ahead of you, and I kind of feel like you guys have it a little bit easier than some of the other signs. And the reason I say this for you specifically is because we see Venus finally stationing direct on the 13th and marching towards another conjunction with your chart ruler Saturn. And you know, you already are Saturn, so you already are familiar with Saturn and Venus, the planet of, you know, like beauty, love, whatever, and she's in her exaltation marching towards your chart ruler. So it kind of seems like some kind of alleviation is being presented to you, or there's something about opportunities revolving around career, romance, and just chances to have more fun are becoming an apparent theme, especially if you feel like you've been all work, no play, or if you've just been dealing with a lot of responsibilities. I totally feel like these Venus Saturn conjunctions have been a realization for you to enjoy yourself more. Or if that's not the case, I feel like it's the case of taking more risks and developing your ego and communicating. And of course, Saturn is still Saturn, so maybe it's been kind of like one of those energies where you're having to work through it. But I kind of feel like you'll feel this throughout this week, as the conjunction will exact again next week. But I just kind of want to throw that out there for you guys. Aside from that, we see a lot of planets move. We see Mars move into Leo on the 18th, and we see Mercury move into Aries again on the 16th. So we see a lot of fire energy slowly building up in the skies, and I really like this. It is building up in your 4th, your 12th, and your 8th house. So these might be like intense feelings, especially related to like pride, ego, and maybe even repressed anger and things going on in the house. So I would just kind of keep an eye out for that. But the beginning of the week is the time of the week where I feel like it's the most important, because we will see the moon moving through Scorpio, and it will form one last grand water trine with Venus, Saturn, and Mars in Cancer, especially this trine to Mars in Cancer, because Mars will be at that critical 29 degrees. So I feel like a lot of you could be closing something out when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to communication, and it could be related to a woman. Like maybe you're working with maybe like a sister, maybe you're working with like a coworker or something to close something out. This could even be like a therapist or somebody that maybe is like helping you, or like you're consulting them and they're helping you close out something regarding like a legal matter or like a document. But for others of you, I also feel like this could involve a friend, right? Because the 11th house is about friendships, and both of your social houses are being activated, the 3rd and the 11th house, and the 7th house, you know what? So I kind of feel like this could be something about relationships with like social circles, groups of people, social media. I have to say, Capricorn, if you're looking to meet people, or if you're wanting to, you know, like, I just feel like the beginning of the week is a really, really good time to put yourself out there, talk to people. Amazing opportunities to network in the beginning of the week, basically. And if not that, just an opportunity to speak to more people and engage in some nice conversations, or at least get some important conversations out of the way with your 4th house ruler being involved in this. So for some of you, this could be involving like a property matter. Like maybe you're like trying to sell a house or something, and this is like you going back and forth with like a realtor, or maybe you're trying to get in the housing market. For others of you, I totally wouldn't be surprised if, with Mars having ties with your 4th house, the 4th house is the past. Maybe some of you are dealing with relationships from the past, and with the moon moving through your 11th house, which is the future, it makes me wonder if you are thinking about something from the past versus the future, if you know what I mean. Like, oh, like this happened back then, like I'm gonna do things differently moving forward. So I feel like a lot of you are kind of in this cause and effect mindset where you're trying to change something about your habits and the way that you communicate and think within your relationships. And then in the middle of the week, we will see the moon move through Sagittarius, and we see a grand mutable cross form in the skies with the nodes with Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter. So this is hitting a lot of different spots in your chart: the 12th, the 3rd, the 6th, and the 9th house. I feel like a lot of Capricorn risings will be super busy in the middle of the week. It just might be you're traveling, you're having to move around, commuting, driving. A lot of you could be dealing with something about a car. I would not be surprised if some of you are trying to change up like a transportation situation because of the 3rd and 6th house being activated. You know, like maybe like something happens with a car, or someone's borrowing the car, and because of that you have to find a different way to work, or maybe someone else really needs a ride from you and you're kind of having to like, you know, pick up that, and you're like, oh, like I'll take you to work, or oh, I'll take you to this, or oh, I'll drive you to that. So some of you could be dealing with something like that. Others of you, it could also just be that you are caught up in your schedule and maybe it's taking a toll on your mental health. So Capricorn, if you have been in the midst of a very rigorous routine, it just might be that this week you want to take your time, or this week you might want to lean on other people. Because the nice thing is, though, the moon will be trining planets in your 4th house. Mercury and Neptune will come into a conjunction as well. I'm not gonna lie, I would be careful. I totally see that as like sleeping a lot or oversleeping or just being very, very tired. You know, Mercury has ties with your 6th and your 9th house. So something about, you know, your routine, something about your routines at home could be coming to a change. Maybe it could involve water. For some of you, this could be like literal water issues, or maybe this is some kind of confusion with like a work situation, you know, like, oh, working from home, or oh, going into work. So some of you might be dealing with something like that. And since Mercury has ties with your 9th house, which deals with long distance, some of you could be working remote, or some of you might just kind of be dealing with something of that. And then once again, like this could also deal with like properties, but I more so feel like this is about your interactions at home and like where you are physically, and how that's kind of playing a role in your routine and your day-to-day structure. So I would just kind of keep an eye out for that, and lean on family whenever you can. Lean on people that you live with, you know, like don't be afraid to ask roommates, or don't be afraid to ask like someone you live with, or maybe even a family member, like, hey, can you take this person to this thing that I can't take them right now, or hey, can you take me to work, or hey, can you do this for me, or you know, just like little favors that to you will really inconvenience you, but for other people it's seriously not that big of a deal. I also could see this as like, be careful of being too available for the people around you. So if you have multiple people, especially if you live with them or are related to them, asking you for favors, this might be something that's kind of like overwhelming you. So kind of take your time with that. At the end of the week, we will see the moon moving through your sign, Capricorn, and it will come into squares of planets in your 4th house. So the nice thing is that we see Mars move into your 8th house. So I kind of feel like this could be about like financial logistics, something about like the home front, something about, you know, like your like living situation. But for others of you, I also feel like this could be like your deeper feelings relating to your childhood, and maybe about asserting yourself more. I totally wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Capricorn rising see repressed anger coming up throughout the week, or desires to prove yourself, especially if you feel like you've been dealing with anything with like self-esteem issues or self-worth issues. I feel like this is the kind of week where you will see that kind of come to a head, and the way that you project it and the way that you communicate it, especially with the people who are immediately around you, this is something that will be kind of revised. And honestly, Capricorn, I just feel like this has the potential to be like a very emotional week for you, and it might kind of interfere with what you're doing as like a routine, or what you've been doing as a structure in your day-to-day life. And I feel like the best thing that I have to say for you is take your time and honor your emotions. You've repressed them for long enough, and if you continue to tamp them down, I think that it will do you more harm than good. So don't be afraid to give yourself a little bit of a breather this week, and lean on others for support whenever possible. Anyways, I'm gonna start shuffling the cards, and you can pull your tarot card for the week. But yeah, I definitely feel like, especially because the week after this will open up with a conjunction of Pluto, I feel like a lot of Capricorns are like low-key going through something with like, you know, like self-worth, or like not feeling good enough. And the only reason I say that is because I had Pluto go through my second house, and oh my gosh. think we should take this one. Okay, so for you, we have the Queen of Cups. So I definitely see this as like the Venus and Saturn conjunction. So maybe some of you are literally dealing with the Queen of Cups, like an emotional woman or like a very feminine energy. And because it's the third house, this could be maybe like someone that you're consulting. Once again, my mind always goes to therapy because that's just how it is. So it could be like a therapist, it could be that you're contacting a psychiatrist, maybe you're contacting just like a woman to assist you with something. For others of you, this could be like a sister, this could be an aunt, this could be a grandmother, third house, it could even be a neighbor. But I also feel like this is a call for you to once again lean into your feelings and protect them, and know that not everybody is deserving of being keyed in on how you are feeling. But yeah, for a lot of you, I just feel like you could be dealing with a emotional feminine energy this week, and your interactions with them seem to be very important, especially when it comes to like having fun, enjoying yourself. You know, Venus has ties with your fifth house, so I almost wonder if this could be related to like pregnancy, having kids, but this could also be a woman, something about like a career opportunity. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Capricorn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Aquarius rising. So hello, Aquarius rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Honestly, Aquarius, I feel like you and Capricorn are kind of on the same boat, where this week might just kind of like, it might just kind of feel like you're preparing for something or you're working towards something, because your traditional ruler Saturn is slowly being approached by Venus. And the reason why I say this is like preparing is because I feel like a lot of you are closing something out, and it could be related to your finances and your money, but also your self-worth and your behaviors. And I just want to say, Aquarius, that throughout this week and honestly the rest of April, pay attention to how you relate to material things, because I feel like this could be very telling of how you feel about yourself and your self-worth. But anyways, so we see a lot of things going on this week, because we will finally see Mars move into Leo in your 7th house of relationships and legal matters, and this will be on the 18th, and we will see Mercury move into your 3rd house on the 16th, back into Aries. And I like this energy for all of us. I think that Mars in the 7th house will be a little bit all over the place, but definitely way better than Mars in the 6th house, in my opinion, because I feel like a lot of Aquarius risings have been super busy. And I have you say, Aquarius, I think that if you're looking to purchase a car, or if you're looking to invest in your transportation, after this week, it's really not a bad time to do it. I feel like there will be like this window of time between like now and the end of April. Obviously, there's some transits that you want to be a little bit dicey about because of the Mars and Pluto opposition, because of the Mercury Neptune conjunction, but it's pretty safe to say that the weather looks a little bit more appropriate to invest in travel matters as opposed to the past month. So if you held off, good job. I know a lot of you were asking me about that. But anyways, the week starts off with the moon in Scorpio, and I have to say this is a pretty important transit for you, especially because we do see the moon square Pluto in your sign, and it will also come into this grand water trine with Mars, Venus, and Saturn. And this is the last grand water trine we will see for a good amount of time. And the Mars is going to be at the 29th degree, that critical degree, and that's why I feel like this is so important. This is between your 6th, your 2nd, and your 10th house. So I feel like a lot of you could be closing out something within your career, within your work situation. And because Mars has ties with your 3rd house, I feel like a lot of you are closing something out when it comes to like getting to your job. It could be something about communication. So maybe some of you are hitting up some kind of like how do I say, like an interview, or maybe you're going back and forth with someone over the phone about like schedules, routines, and whatnot. For others of you, I totally wouldn't be surprised if you are investing in something for your health because of the 2nd and 6th house. This is particularly about diet, and because it's in water signs, it makes me think about like water. So like maybe you're taking like water supplements, or like maybe you're taking like you're mixing things into drinks and whatnot. For others of you, I just feel like this is something about how you show up for people, because the 6th house is about services and the 2nd house is about your self-worth and your etiquette. So it makes me think like, oh, like maybe if you've been overextending yourself at a career situation, at a work situation, maybe you're closing something like that out. You know, maybe you're kind of like, you know what, like I'm tired of doing this job where I don't get paid enough for how much I do, or you know what, I'm tired of being around people that don't appreciate me. And I feel like with this Venus Saturn conjunction coming up, this is definitely something that you're going to be feeling. Venus has ties with your fourth house as well as your ninth house. So this could even be related to like relatives. So I almost wonder if this is like, oh, like I've been overextending myself for like my aunt and I'm so tired of it. Or I've been overextending myself for my grandma. She don't even care about me. Like I'm not doing this no more. Or this could be that you feel like the energy that you've been directing lately. I feel like this is the point. I feel like I could describe this so many different ways, but the umbrella way to say it is I feel like the way you've been directing your energy, you feel like it hasn't been paying off or serving you well. And I feel like this grand water trine is about you redirecting that energy towards something more productive or for yourself and putting, like, filling up your own cup basically. And then in the middle of the week, we will see the moon move through Sagittarius and it will form a grand mutable cross with Venus, with Saturn, with Jupiter, and the nodes. This is between your 11th, your 2nd, and your 5th and ninth house. Sorry, I'm like kind of sick right now. And also, sorry if you hear background noise, I should have said that earlier. But this is between these houses, it definitely seems like there's something going on with like your values revolving around kids within social circles, revolving around like your deeper feelings. I feel like the Virgo part of this is like very important, especially since we see the ruler Mercury in a conjunction with Neptune throughout the week. So I definitely feel like this week it's important to watch how you're communicating with people. I feel like this has been an ongoing thing for Aquarius, and I feel like this week is no exception where you're kind of learning to adjust the ropes of how you're communicating with people, how you talk future. And you know, the moon will be moving through the 11th house, which you're very familiar with as an Aquarius rising. So I feel like a lot of you could be thinking about the future this week, where you're kind of like, oh, like how am I going to do this when I, you know, like if I want another kid, or oh, if I want to make more money, or oh, like I need to think about this, like investing for myself, or like, you know, I need to make more money for myself so I can afford the things that I want to buy as opposed to things I need to buy, you know. So it could just be that some of you are trying to up the stakes in some sort of way to adjust to something that you believe in, because the fifth house is the ego, right? And it could be revolving around intelligence. So I almost wonder if some of you are wanting to learn something new, or maybe some of you are trying to like pursue a degree, or maybe some of you are thinking about like the longevity of like information that you can learn, philosophies, knowledge. This could literally be like going to school. But for others of you, this could be trying to go to places to enrich. So you could be wanting to travel, you could be wanting to invest in things that will help you learn and garner more perspective. And I definitely feel like Aquarius, if you feel like you're not really sure what to do, that's like a really great place to start. Reward curiosity and reward emotional curiosity, like wanting to learn more or feeling like there is something that you're very intrigued by. Fill that up, you know, like keep going into that. And I feel like the things that you learn, it could really inspire you. And I just feel like an Aquarius rising, when they're inspired, is truly unstoppable. So I feel like that is truly the best way to go about this week, is to look to learn things, not even for a specific goal, because I just don't think that you like to be restrained like that. I feel like you like to do things freely and without any expectation. So I feel like this is definitely one of those weeks where you just want to dabble into something, even for 5 minutes. And if you don't do anything more, at least just like they say, you know, like you dedicate 5 minutes to something good, but it could turn into something more where you're more curious and you're wanting to learn, and that could snowball into so many other things and create a lot of dreams for you and a lot of optimistic energy, especially because the moon will also trine planets in your third house. Even though I don't really like this Mercury Neptune conjunction, because it could definitely give way for some really confusing communication, or like confusion revolving around like things like, because Mercury has ties with your 8th house, like insurance, debts, and whatnot. So if you're kind of going back and forth of anything about like money that you owe or money that is owed to you by other people, I would expect a little bit of confusion in that regard this week, especially if for those select few of you, your kids are involved. For others of you, I feel like, or actually the rest of you, I just feel like the moon trining this is a really nice energy, because on one hand, you know, like I said, it could be one thing that I just mentioned, but on the other hand, I also feel like this could give way for a lot of inspiration, being able to express yourself and put things into words. So like, write things down this week, you know, you will forget it. I think that Mercury Neptune together can be very forgetful energy, so lean into writing things down, lean into, you know, voice memoing it or something. Just make sure that you try to retain ideas that you get this week. And at the end of the week, we will see the moon move to Capricorn in your 12th house, and it will square planets in your 3rd house. Aquarius, I feel like this end of the week you should watch out for like routine things. That's like the best thing I have to say. Like 12th and 3rd house squares, I always see it as like sleeping past your alarm, or like your phone breaks and like you didn't even realize it and you can't like go to bed or something. Like I say this as like if you're trying to get gas, like imagine like, you know, when we do that thing where we're like, oh, you know, I got home from work at like 7 p.m. I'll just get gas in the morning, and it's like morning comes and then you wake up late and you're like, freak, I still have to get gas. So it's like avoid that, do things, prepare yourself ahead of time. Like as the end of the week approaches, do things to make sure that you are prepared ahead of time. And even if you're a little bit early, or if you feel like you're running ahead of the schedule, you're actually running just on time, and you will be very, very glad that you decided to do things ahead. That's the only thing I have to say to you about that. Anyways, I also feel like Mercury and Neptune conjunct in the 3rd house could be something about like a radiator. It could be revolving around a car. It could be revolving around like a device. So be careful of like water damage in some way, shape, or form. So if you're like, I feel like if you're suspecting something going on with like a water situation with like a vehicle, or like even in the neighborhood, I would keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for water heaters as well. Aries is like a hot energy. Here, let's pull you a tarot card. I like this one. Let's take this one. Okay, oh, you got this card too. For you, we got the 3 of Swords. I definitely feel like because things are closing out in your 2nd, your 6th, and your 10th house, I feel like some of you could be pulling swords out with like your career. But for others of you, I feel like this goes back to like what I was saying, like, has there been people in your life taking advantage of you? Are there people who are not giving you enough credit or appreciation? Are there people who are not efficiently communicating with you? Are there people who say hurtful things to you? Are there people who, you know, raise their voice at you? You know, I feel like this card is basically saying that if something's hurting your heart, you really need to step away from it. This energy is familiar with you, Aquarius, because this is an air-ruled card, the Swords. So know that the way that you interact with words and how those impact your feelings, this sort of dynamic you will be forced to scrutinize this week. And you need to pay attention to what things are said to you and what you say and how it affects your heart and your soul. This is something that you don't want to ignore. And when in doubt, trust your heart. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Aquarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated. And if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Pisces rising. So hello, Pisces rising. If you are seeing this will be your horoscope for April 14th through April 20th. Disclaimer, Pisces, so sorry if you hear me sounding weird, pausing, or sniffling. I'm kind of sick right now, and if I'm pausing, it's because I'm trying not to cough. And sorry if you hear any background noise. I'm in a house full of people. Anyways, Pisces, I definitely feel like this week will be very important for you, as all the other water signs, because we just see this grand water trine forming. I'll get into that in a second. We see a lot of planets move. We see Mars move into Leo on the 18th, and we see Mercury move back into Aries on the 16th. And we also see Venus kick off this week by stationing direct, which is a really nice energy for you, especially if you've been like changing up your appearance. Excuse me. Or if you've been dealing with like wanting to like cut your hair, or like, you know, like stuff like that, you know what I mean? But anyways, Pisces, the reason why I feel like the beginning of the week is so important for the water signs is because when the moon's moving through Scorpio, which by the way, the moon's going to start out in Scorpio this week, it will form a grand water trine one last time with Mars, Venus, and Saturn. Mars will touch on that 29th degree, that critical 29th degree, and I feel like this is why it's so important, because it seems like you're closing out something, and it seems to be related to like romance and, you know, long distance matters, you know, with your identity. I wouldn't be surprised because, you know, the trine to Venus and Saturn, and Saturn are getting close to each other. Saturn rules your 11th house. Venus rules your 3rd house, as well as your 8th house. I definitely feel like this is something about like deeply relating to people. Maybe there's something going on of like how you emotionally relate to social circles, friend groups, or even just like groups of people. Like, do you feel like an outcast? Do you feel alienated? And I feel like some of you could be closing out a chapter like that, and it could be related to school. So if you're like a student, or if you are like in a long distance matter, so like you're traveling for the week or something, or this could also be like a foreign place, so like maybe you are currently somewhere where you've never been before, or maybe some of you are anticipating, like, it doesn't even have to be like you're literally across the country. It could just be that you're in a town over and you're just like not familiar with the place. I feel like a lot of you are dealing with something where you feel kind of like out of place, or you kind of feel like you are having a little bit of trouble relating to people. For others of you, I also feel like this could be something going on with like a friend catching feelings for you. I totally wouldn't be surprised if like a friend is like low-key in love with you. Maybe they're far, excuse me, maybe they're far away from you. And maybe this could also be like a friend having a child, Venus, Saturn, Venus, and then, Cancer in fifth house, Mars. I almost wonder if some of you are dealing with like a woman who's like, hey, like I'm pregnant, like I'm about to have a kid, y'all. Like I have a bun in the oven. For others of you, because this Venus Saturn conjunction is happening in your first house, if you've been trying for kids, like this could be like a week where you figure out, you're like, oh, like I'm having kids. Especially like with the full moon that happened in your 8th house this past week, it could be like a reveal for your fertility. It could be a reveal for your like your ability to have children. And then for others of you, I just kind of feel like this is something about like your self-worth, your money. Some of you could be taking risks with that. Some of y'all could just be shopping. Like I feel like for a lot of you, like this could be on one hand where you're like, oh my gosh, y'all, like I'm having a kid, like I'm closing things out with friends, like I don't know, like I feel like I'm in a completely different space than I was before. And others of y'all are like, haha, like card go approved at store and mall, so a lot of you could just be like anywhere between that spectrum. And then in the middle of the week, I feel like the middle of the week, this whole week just feels really important for you, Pisces. I feel like I'm like talking out of my behind, if you know what I mean. The moon's moving through Sagittarius at the middle of the week, and this will form a grand mutable cross. All mutable signs will be feeling it throughout this week. Venus, Saturn, the nodes, Jupiter being your traditional ruler, definitely something about your career, something about your work, your relationships, your home. It just kind of seems like, Pisces, you might be in the midst of like doing like a massive overhaul of your life. And I feel like it is inspired through how you're communicating with people and how you interact with people who are immediately around you, because Venus rules your 3rd house. And with the 8th house being involved too, it might kind of be about like what you feel passionate about. So it might be that like everything this week revolves around kind of like, oh, like what do I feel like doing? What is important to me? And what do I want to dedicate my energy towards? Because that's what I see the 8th house as. Like I see this as like a very, when it's inspired, it's capable of great effort. When it's doing something it doesn't believe in, it's very difficult. It's very hard to even move an inch. And I feel like a lot of you could be in this energy this week where you're picking up a lot of burdens to, fixate on your dreams and what's important to you and work towards a future that you resonate with, and not getting in your own way and trying to assist other people around you, especially if it's like family. And I feel like this is you kind of like stepping out of your own way to do something about it, or this could be you actively trying to step in your own way, and it's up to you to get out of your own way, you know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of you could be, finding out the balance between that. But I definitely feel like it comes back to your appearance. It comes back to your identity and how you see yourself and what you envision yourself doing in the next few years. I definitely feel like a lot of Pisces risings right now, whatever you're doing, you're kind of like every time you do anything, you're thinking like, okay, what's the longevity of this? What is it going to look like in the far future? And what do I imagine for myself? So I think that a lot of you are getting very serious about your dreams and your visions for yourself and the world around you. And then at the end of the week, we will be seeing the moon move through Capricorn in your 11th house, which will further accentuate this energy. Excuse me. And it will be a lot less pressure, I feel, because we don't see that grand mutable cross anymore. And when the moon's in Capricorn, it will square planets in your 2nd house. So this could be literally like, do I feel good enough for my dreams? Or because Aries and Capricorn like to prove themselves. So I almost wonder if some of y'all are like randomly starting something this week. I will say Mercury and Neptune will be in a conjunction. Pretty important because Neptune is your ruler, modern day ruler. Mercury has ties with your 4th house as well as your 7th house. Some of y'all could literally just be dealing with water issues in the house. Others of you, I feel like this could also be about investments into water. So maybe some of you are like investing like something about like hot water, water heater. Some of y'all could literally just be buying a tea kettle. But for others of you, I feel like this could also just be something about your self-worth when it relates to groups of people. What I was saying earlier, I feel like this could be something about social circles, like other people and their experiences. I almost wonder if this is like, oh, like I want to do this with myself. Let me look up other people's experiences and how they did it and whatnot. I also feel like this could be something about values and friends. So a lot of you might be kind of like thinking to yourself at the end of this weekend. I feel like this will be kind of like a private thing or something that you kind of keep to yourself, where it's like, oh, like, do I agree with this friend's values? Do I agree with what this friend stands for and their beliefs in, the 11th house can be about like politics. It can be about like, ideas like that. So a lot of y'all could be dealing with something like that with a friend. The moon will be in a Saturn ruled sign. Saturn's in your first house. So the ball is really in your court where you're deciding, like, hey, I don't want to be friends with this person. Hey, I do want to be friends with this person. Or, hey, like, I do feel good enough for this dream. Or, whether or not I feel good enough for this dream, like, I want to do something about it. Like, this is what I want to do. The nice thing is, though, when the moon's in Capricorn, it will be sextiling your ascendant and sextiling, Venus and Saturn and the nodes and trining the south node. So I kind of feel like this is like, it relates to your relationships where you are kind of flowing right now. And I feel like a lot of Pisces risings right now are in this vibe of like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna let people come and go. The people who mean the most to me will stay, and the people who don't mean the most to me and they clearly don't care about me, I'll just let them go. I feel like a lot of you right now are in this vibe of trying to let go of control within your personal relationships, and I feel like this week is absolutely no exception to that. And I feel like this is all kind of because you're so focused on your own life and what you want to accomplish for yourself, whether it be developing more for yourself, the career that you want, the job that you want, or being in the relationship that you want, or making the money that you want, being a parent, or just like sticking to your own morals and your beliefs and what you think is important. Anyways, Pisces, I'm going to start shuffling these cards here. I feel like the best piece of advice that I have for you this week is take after that one saying. Like, I think it's like a philosophy. It's like a let them. Like, it says like, oh, if your friends are talking behind your back, let them. Or, oh, if these people are doing this, like, let them. Obviously, like, do this to like a healthy degree. But I feel like my point is that like there's really no need to control relationships and other people, because things are working out in your favor as you get out of your own way. And you might notice that sometimes like people bring the worst out in you, or you bring the worst out of people, and that is just something that's like not right for you. I feel like you guys are being presented space to analyze yourself at a deeper level so that you can see what you need in order to attract something nice for yourself and, bring your dreams even closer into view. Oh, this card really stuck out to me. For you, we have the Page of Wands. Very curious card. I definitely feel like with planets building up in your second house and with Neptune being in a fire-ruled sign, I feel like a lot of Pisces risings right now are in a more passionate energy, headstrong, like diving headfirst into things without really thinking about it. Aries, right? So, and this could be related to like your money. Like maybe you're like spending and maybe you're like investing in yourself a lot more and in the best way possible. And maybe this is revolving around like your home and your relationships. But I also feel like a lot of you could be dealing with the Page of Wands, so maybe there's like a very curious energy around you, and maybe this could be like a potential partner, or maybe there's just like a Page of Wands in your life, someone who's youthful, fiery, cutesy, and passionate, and this person is kind of like a muse, or you could be embodying this energy as well. Overall, I just kind of feel like passion and curiosity are meeting together this week, and it will basically be inspiring you. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Pisces. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye!